Chapter 38-54. Swallow him for me. Lu Ming's life spirit origin stone fragment, the rock spirit, cried out in excitement. Lu Ming didn't immediately give it to the life spirit origin stone, the rock spirit sized it up. The life spirit origin stone fragment left behind by the Spirit Hung sect master was much smaller than Lu Ming's. It was about the same as the life spirit origin stone fragment that he had before fusing with Murong Qiu Shui. It should only be a small piece. With a thought, Lu Ming put away the life spirit origin stone fragment. Facing Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji, he was very confident. Now that Qiu could make a move, with his cooperation, his battle strength was completely above Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue. Of course, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had terrifying trump cards, but so did Lu Ming. The Gale Pearl was won, and at the critical moment, there was the purple copper coffin. After Lu Ming put away the life spirit origin stone fragment, the three of them looked at the flying treasures in the sky, their eyes shining brightly. Shwa shwa shwa, the three of them moved at the same time, rushing out and pouncing towards the weapons. Lu Ming was the first to pounce on a long spear. Although he had a forbidden body, all kinds of secret techniques could be turned into secret technique runes and fused into his cells. It was the same for any weapon he used. However, he still had a special feeling for long spears, so his first choice was a long spear-type divine weapon. Lu Ming grabbed at a fiery red long spear, but this long spear was very slippery. In a flash, like a long snake, it flew out of Lu Ming's palm. Want to leave? Stay for me. Lu Ming shouted in his heart. His palm glowed and immediately, several trapping secret techniques were used, trapping the fiery red long spear. The fiery red long spear tried to rush left and right, but it couldn't rush out. Lu Ming exerted his strength and the forbidden power enveloped the fiery red long spear. On the fiery red long spear, there was a layer of light covering it, but at this moment, this layer of light was destroyed by the forbidden power. After it was destroyed, the long spear stopped moving. Lu Ming grabbed it and put it into his storage ring. Then, Lu Ming pounced on the next weapon. In this secret chamber, there were about a dozen weapons, which were quickly plundered clean by the three of them. Lu Ming obtained a total of 5 divine weapons, all of which were of very high levels. Although they were not as good as the gravity orb, they were still very valuable. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had also gained a lot. Everyone's faces revealed smiles. Although this trip was a little unexpected and the sect master of the Lingheng sect had changed, it was still worth it. The three of them sized up the secret chamber. There were no other passageways in this secret chamber. This was the end. However, there were other secret rooms. The three of them moved along the passage and returned to the largest secret chamber at the beginning. At this moment, there were no longer any strange creatures here. All the strange creatures had already rushed out of the door. Outside the door, there were still intense shouts of killing. Clearly, the strange creatures and the people of the Lingheng sect were still fighting. However, no one was able to rush in. Let's split up. Xiao Wuji said. All right. Split up. Lu Ming and Ling Yue also nodded. Now that the sect master of the Lingheng sect had been eliminated by them, no one else came in. There was no need for them to gather together. Splitting up and obtaining their own opportunities was the most important thing. With a flash, the three of them chose a passage and rushed in. A moment later, Lu Ming passed through a passage and arrived at the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was also a secret chamber. However, this secret chamber was much smaller than the secret chamber where he had obtained the divine weapon. There were no treasures flying around either. There were only some miscellaneous boxes piled up there. Lu Ming walked over and casually opened a box. He found that there were some jade talismans inside. Lu Ming picked up a jade talisman and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He revealed a trace of disappointment. The Jade Talisman only recorded a method to refine divine pills. Moreover, it wasn't of a particularly high level and could be bought outside. Lu Ming was currently focusing on cultivation, so he didn't have the time or energy to cultivate the Tao of Alchemy. In the Minor Thousand World, Lu Ming was proficient in the Tao of Alchemy. However, the Tao of Alchemy in the Minor Thousand World was too different from the divine pills in the Great Desolate Universe. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to spend time studying it. Next, Lu Ming picked up the remaining Jade Talismans and looked through them one by one. Unfortunately, they were all knowledge related to alchemy and weren't of much use. Lu Ming reluctantly put it away. He would give it away when he had the chance. After all, he still had family and friends. Perhaps some of them could use it. Then, Lu Ming continued to look through the second box. Inside, there were still some methods to refine divine pills. 3 consecutive boxes were all Jade Talismans used to refine divine pills. From the 4th box onwards, there were some Jade Talismans used to refine divine weapons. Just like the Tao of Alchemy, they were also useless. Lu Ming kept them all in a storage ring. The 5th, and 6th boxes were all about the same. However, when Lu Ming opened the 7th box, his eyes lit up. There were also some Jade Talismans in this box, but these Jade Talismans recorded secret techniques. There were different secret techniques. Each Jade Talisman recorded a secret technique. The last few boxes recorded all kinds of secret techniques. There were hundreds of them. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Finally, there were things that were of great use to him. However, there was no time to look at them carefully now. Lu Ming kept them all. He would slowly look through them when he had time. After putting them away, the secret chamber was already empty. Lu Ming left the secret chamber and returned to the secret chamber outside. Then, he rushed to another passage. Behind this passage was another secret chamber. In this secret chamber, there were also several divine weapons flying in the air. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His figure flashed and kept these divine weapons one by one. There were a total of 6 divine weapons. Adding the previous 5, he had a total of 11 high-grade divine weapons. Each divine weapon was priceless. They could be sold for a sky-high price outside. This treasure land left behind by the Fate Heavenly Court was indeed worthy of its reputation. This was only a treasure land. One could imagine how many treasures there were in the 9 great Life Soul Halls and the most important Life Soul Heavenly Court. Lu Ming left this place and hurried to the next passageway. It was a pity that the secret chamber at the end of this passageway was empty. Could it be that Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji have already gotten there first? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He quickly left this passage and entered the next one. Unfortunately, it was still the same. It was empty. There was nothing. Lu Ming reckoned that Ling Yue or Xiao Wuji had really gotten there first. After all, there were only about 10 passages here. Suddenly, Lu Ming heard a rumbling sound coming from the middle of the passage. Although it seemed to be very far away, Lu Ming could still clearly see it. Someone is making a move in this passage. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he guessed who it was. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from another passage. It was Ling Yue. Chapter 38-55. In another passageway, Ling Yue's figure appeared. The moment Ling Yue appeared, she also sensed that there were sounds of fighting coming from the depths of the middle passageway. Lu Ming and Ling Yue looked at each other and nodded silently. Then, the two of them rushed towards the middle passageway at the same time. When they arrived at the end of the passageway, they discovered that it was also a secret room. However, this secret room was extremely large. It was close to the outermost secret room. In this secret room, there were 9 steps. On each step, there was a platform, and on each platform, there was a large seal floating. The color of each seal was different. Some were red, some were green, and some were white. Every seal was enveloped by a layer of light. As for Xiao Wuji, he was on one of the platforms, constantly attacking the light barrier outside the seal, emitting a violent rumbling sound. This was the sound that Lu Ming and the others had heard just now. The moment Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei arrived, Xiao Wuji sensed them. The seal here should have clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces. However, there are restrictions protecting it, so it's very difficult for one person to break through. We need to work together. Xiao Wuji's voice rang out. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei sneered. Why didn't Xiao Wuji send a sound transmission to Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei to ask them to join hands? At this moment, seeing that Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei had arrived, they had joined hands. It was obvious that if possible, Xiao Wuji wanted to take it all for himself. Let's try the other seals first. Ling Yuwei directly rushed towards the other seal. Before she even arrived, arrows were continuously shot out. Bang bang bang, one arrow after another struck the light barrier outside the seal. The light barrier only shook violently, but it did not break. Ling Yuwei shouted and shot out her strongest arrow. Unfortunately, it still did not break through. It seemed that what Xiao Wuji said was true. It was indeed difficult for a single person to break through, unless they used their trump card. However, the consumption of trump cards was too great, so it was not suitable to use them now. Let's attack together. If there really are clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces, we will naturally share them. We will need to work together to explore the Soul Palace later. Xiao Wuji Dao. Ling Yuwei could only nod her head with a gloomy face and head towards Xiao Wuji's platform. Lu Ming also stepped onto Xiao Wuji's platform. The 3 of them surrounded the seal. It was blue in color, like a blue crystal. It was very beautiful. As the seal floated in the air, they could even see through the light barrier that the bottom of the seal was engraved with dense lines. These lines interweaved together, resembling a map. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's eyes lit up. Could it be that the seal really contained clues to the 9 Soul Palaces, and that the bottom of the seal was a map to the 9 Soul Palaces? The 9 seals corresponded to the 9 Soul Palaces? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Make your move. Ling Yuwei said somewhat impatiently. Then, the 3 of them attacked at the same time. Divine light burst forth and turned into terrifying attacks that attacked the light barrier. The light shield shook violently, but it did not break. However, they could clearly feel that as they attacked, the energy of the light barrier was constantly being depleted, and its power was constantly weakening. As long as they could continue to weaken and maintain it for a period of time, they would definitely be able to break it. The 3 of them did not stop attacking. After half an hour, the light barrier had already become dim. Gotcha. In the end, the sound of porcelain shattering came from the light barrier. Then, with a bang, it exploded and turned into specks of light that dissipated. The eyes of the 3 flashed, and almost at the same time, they reached out to grab the blue seal. However, when they grabbed the seal at the same time, they grabbed empty air. This seal was like a phantom. It could be seen but not grasped. The expressions of the 3 of them immediately turned ugly. Fake? Ling Yuwei frowned. It seems that it really is fake. It's just a projection, not a real body. Lu Ming said. There are a total of 9 seals. They might not all be fake. Let's go take a look at the next one. Xiao Wuji suggested. Sure, but let's make it clear first. No one can think of taking the seal for themselves. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Ling Yuwei said. Of course. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji nodded. Then, the 3 of them came to the next platform and saw a fiery red seal. The seal was also enveloped by a layer of light barrier. The three of them still attacked together. After half an hour, they broke through the light barrier. However, the seal was still not a real body. It was still a projection. This time, the three of them looked a little ugly. Could it be that the 9 seals were all phantoms and not real bodies? The three of them were naturally unwilling. How could they be satisfied if they did not open all of them? However, after breaking through 2 seals in a row, the three of them had exhausted a lot of energy and needed to recover. Lu Ming was still fine. The taboo body was distributed in 60 trillion cells. As long as the taboo power was still there, it would be difficult for him to get tired. However, he also had to pretend, so he took out a few divine pills and swallowed them. After all, his cells had to store potential. Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji also took out divine pills and refined them to recover. A few hours later, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji had recovered to their peak state. Lu Ming also pretended to get up. The three of them continued to attack the light barrier outside the next seal. However, after breaking through, it was still a phantom. The three of them were unwilling to give up and continued to attack. The 4th seal was still a phantom. The three of them recovered and continued to attack. However, when they broke through the 5th seal, they finally had a great harvest. The 5th seal was a snow-white seal. This one was not a phantom, but a real one. The three of them were ecstatic. Xiao Wuji took the lead and held the seal in his hand, carefully examining it. The surface of the seal was carved with snow-white patterns. Most importantly, it was filled with mysterious lines that intertwined together. It looked like a map. "Input your divine power and take a look," Ling Yuwei said expectantly. Xiao Wuji nodded and inserted his divine power into the snow-white seal. Suddenly, the seal glowed, especially the lines at the bottom of the seal. They actually wriggled and flew out from the bottom of the seal. They floated in the air and then combined in a mysterious pattern to form a map. It really is a map. The three of their eyes lit up. They were overjoyed. If I'm not wrong, this map should be the map to Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace. Xiao Wuji could not hide the excitement on his face. How about you leave this seal to me for safekeeping for now? Don't worry, I can swear on my life source that I will not take it for myself, Xiao Wuji said. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei pondered for a moment and nodded. In any case, they had already memorized the map. Xiao Wuji took out a storage ring and put away the snow-white seal. Then, they continued to attack the remaining seals. Unfortunately, when they broke through the remaining 4 seals, they did not gain anything. The remaining 4 seals were all phantoms. Chapter 3856. In the end, only one of the 9 seals was real. The other 8 were all illusions. Looks like there's only one clue to the Life Spirit Hall here. The other 8 Life Spirit Halls need to be obtained through other channels, Lu Ming said. Even if there's only one clue, it's still worth it. As long as there are treasures left behind in Bing Xian's Life Spirit Hall, they're definitely very shocking. It's definitely not something this place can compare to, Xiao Wuji said with a fiery gaze. Let's go and see if there are any treasures in the other passageways. If there aren't any, we'll leave this place as soon as possible and explore Bing Xian's Life Spirit Hall, Ling Yuwei said. Immediately, they explored the other passageways. However, they had almost explored all of these passageways, so they didn't gain much. Then, they left this place. As soon as they left the door, they found that there were almost no living people outside. Corpses were lying everywhere. They were all experts of the Lingheng sect. As for the remaining experts of the Lingheng sect, they had probably fought with those strange creatures in other places. However, there were many storage rings left underground. The 3 of them naturally wouldn't miss them. In a flash, they put away the storage rings here and flew towards the exit. after flying for a distance. Ah! A miserable scream rang out. The three of them saw a middle-aged man being torn apart alive by a group of strange creatures. However, those strange creatures didn't seem to see Lu Ming and the other two and rushed past them. The three of them knew that this was due to the life spirit origin stone fragments. They increased their speed. Along the way, they could see those strange creatures attacking others from time to time. This world had already become a purgatory. Why aren't they attacked by those strange creatures? They must have treasures on them that can deter those strange creatures. Snatch them, only then can we survive. Not far away, a group of people flew past. These people all had blood stains on their bodies. All of them were injured. There were 15 of them. They had also come in to hunt soul beasts, but they were attacked by the strange creatures. There were originally more than 20 people, but only 15 people were left. It was not easy for them to break out of the encirclement. As they flew, they discovered that Lu Ming and the other two weren't attacked by the strange creatures. They immediately guessed that Lu Ming must have some kind of treasure on him that could deter the strange creatures. There was still quite a distance to the exit. And now, this evil spirit realm was filled with strange creatures. With their strength, it would be very difficult for them to successfully reach the exit. However, with Lu Ming's treasures, reaching the exit would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, a cold killing intent flashed in their hearts. They immediately flew towards the three of them, blocking the path of Lu Ming's group. "Everyone, what is the meaning of this?" Ling Yue said with a frown. "What do you mean? Do you have any treasures that can deter those strange creatures? Hand them over." A red-skinned man shouted. "That's right. We do have a treasure that can deter strange creatures, but it's not something you can have. Hurry up and get lost. If you don't, I don't mind keeping you here." This time, it was Xiao Wuji who spoke. The Azura clan was a clan that killed people. These people dared to attack him, they were simply courting death. He, a mere quasi-emperor, you're quite arrogant. Let's see how you're going to keep us here," shouted the red-skinned man coldly. He held a blood-red axe in his hand and swung it at Xiao Wuji's head. That red-skinned man had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. No wonder he didn't put Xiao Wuji in his eyes. However, his axe only chopped down halfway before it stopped. This was because a ray of black light shot out from Xiao Wuji's hand and pierced through the red-skinned man's forehead. The red-skinned man's eyes were wide open. He had died. What? The other 14 people were astonished. They hadn't thought that a quasi-emperor would be able to kill a godly emperor so easily. "He's a monster. Let's attack together," shouted the others. The remaining 14 people attacked together. A dozen attacks moved towards Lu Ming and the other two. One of them was a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. His attacks were terrifying. "You want to die?" shouted Lu Ming. Chiu turned into a silver spear. He raised his spear and broke through the attacks, moving towards the cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. It was unbelievably fast. It looked like a silver lightning bolt. Slash! The cultivator of the second godly emperor layer was instantly killed. The spear pierced through his forehead. At the same time, Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue attacked. The remaining people couldn't withstand a single attack. In the blink of an eye, only a few of them were left. "Run!" The remaining people were scared out of their wits. They started running away madly. "You want to leave now? It's too late." Xiao Wuji snorted coldly, his killing intent chilling. A vertical eye appeared between his brows, emitting rays of azura light. The remaining people were swept by the azura light and died on the spot. "A bunch of idiots," said Xiao Wuji coldly. Lu Ming and Ling Yue didn't say anything. The three of them continued flying towards the exit. After that, they didn't encounter any accidents. Soon, the three of them arrived at the exit. At the exit, many people were flying towards it in fear. Lu Ming blended into the crowd and flew out of the exit. Outside the exit, there were people from the Lingheng sect guarding it. However, the Lingheng sect was already in chaos. The Lingheng sect patriarch and many other higher-ups had died in the evil spirit world. No one cared about Lu Ming and the other two. The three of them easily left the Lingheng sect's territory. On a remote planet, the three of them stopped and started studying the map on the Big Seal. The map was very complicated. They often had to use other maps to compare and analyze them to find the specific location. After studying for a while, the three of them finally found the specific location. It's actually in the Chaotic Devil Starfield. Ling Yue frowned. The Chaotic Devil Starfield? Where is it? Asked Lu Ming. The Chaotic Devil Starfield is a special starfield. It's close to the demon race. It's very chaotic. There are many big and small forces attacking each other. There are even many interstellar pirates who have nests there. Ling Yue explained. It's close to the demon race. Does the demon race not care? Lu Ming asked. The demon race was one of the top 10 races and was incomparably powerful. Beside the demon race, there was actually such a chaotic starfield that the demon race didn't care about. It said that the demon race deliberately didn't care and let Feng Zhan go. This is because the demon race would often send geniuses to the Chaotic Devil Starfield to train. Obviously, the demon race treated the Chaotic Devil Starfield as a training ground for the geniuses of the demon race. Ling Yue said. The demon race was the same as the Azura race. They were also very bloodthirsty. Their cultivation was very cruel and they had to experience all kinds of terrifying tempering. Chapter 3857. Then let's go. Ling Yue said. After confirming the address, the three of them did not delay and headed toward the Chaotic Devil Starfield. The Chaotic Devil Starfield was very far away from here. Even with the wormhole, it would take a few months. A few months later, the three of them finally arrived at the Chaotic Devil Starfield. Kill! They had just entered the Chaotic Devil Starfield when they heard intense shouts. In the starry sky, two groups of people fought fiercely, and people were killed from time to time. These people were from the human race and other races. They all had one thing in common, which was that they all cultivated demonic arts. Their demonic chi surged into the sky, and their auras were incomparably violent. There was no lack of divine emperor experts among them. Lu Ming and the other two took a detour. The Chaotic Devil Starfield was full of chaos and killing. Sometimes, there was no need for a reason to make a move. It was better for them not to cause trouble. According to the map, the entrance to the mysterious Ice Life Soul Palace was located in the center of the Chaotic Devil Starfield. The three of them had to cross more than half of the Chaotic Devil Starfield. However, the three of them kept a low profile and specifically went to remote places. They did not encounter any danger. A few days later, they approached their destination without any danger. Their destination was a planet with life called the Ice Demon Star. However, when they approached the Ice Demon Star, they were dumbfounded. An intense battle was happening on the Ice Demon Star. The Ice Demon Star was filled with dazzling brilliance. That was the activation of a great formation. The Great Defensive Array formed a huge light shield that enveloped the entire planet. Outside the planet, there was a dense crowd of experts. Moreover, the experts were divided into many different forces, surrounding and attacking the Ice Demon Star. A large number of forces were joining forces to attack the Ice Demon Star. Lu Ming and the other two were speechless. What was going on? Their luck was too bad. They just happened to encounter many forces of the chaotic devil starfield attacking the ice demon star. This was too much of a coincidence. I'll say it again. Our ice demon sect does not have the entrance to the mysterious ice life soul palace. We don't know either. A loud roar came from the ice demon star. Humph, whether there is or not, let us search and we will know. Outside the ice demon star, an expert snorted. If I let you search, will my ice demon star still exist? I'm afraid it will be destroyed by you. Within the ice demon star, the voice from before rang out again. Humph, you don't have a choice. If you want to defend the ice demon star to the death, then I can only destroy you and the ice demon star together. An expert outside said coldly. In the distance, Lu Ming and the other two were dumbstruck. What was going on? How did these people know about Bing Xian's life spirit palace? And he knew that the ice demon star had the entrance to the ice Xian life soul palace? How was this possible? Only the three of them knew about this. Someone among them had leaked the news. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other two suddenly shone brightly as they looked at each other. Who leaked the news? Ling Yuwei's gaze swept over Xiao Wuji and Lu Ming, a cold light flashing in her eyes. Are you doubting me? What reason do I have to leak the information? Xiao Wuji said with a solemn expression. Who knows? Who knows what ulterior motives you have? I've long felt that something was wrong with you. Ling Yuwei sneered, and the aura on her body became cold. Relatively speaking, Ling Yuwei trusted Lu Ming more. This was because she was the one who had taken the initiative to find and cooperate with Lu Ming. As for Xiao Wuji, he had appeared halfway. He was unfathomable and extremely scheming. Lu Ming's gaze also looked at Xiao Wuji, a cold light flashing in his eyes. It seems like you don't believe me. Xiao Wuji sneered. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei did not say anything. Obviously, they did not believe in Xiao Wuji. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei did not completely trust each other. Ling Yuwei felt that the one who leaked the news was not Lu Ming. Lu Ming also felt that it was not impossible for Ling Yuwei to be the one who leaked the news. It was possible for any one of them to do so. However, what was the purpose of the leak? What benefits would it bring to the person who leaked the news of Bing Xian's life soul palace? From the looks of it, it was obvious that many people in the Devil Chaos Star field knew about it. This was because among these people, some of them were extremely powerful, and some of them were not inferior to the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect. With so many experts entering Bing Xian's life soul palace, the difficulty of obtaining the treasures would increase exponentially. What benefits would it bring to the person who leaked the news? Lu Ming could not figure it out. In any case, he knew that the person who leaked the news was definitely not him. Ice Demon Sect, since you refuse a toast, then let's destroy it. Everyone, let's attack together with all our might. First, we'll destroy the Ice Demon Sect, and then find the entrance to Bing Xian's life soul palace. Outside, someone roared. Alright, let's attack together. Don't hide your strength. Cold shouts rang out. Following that, a terrifying aura rose up. Following that, a terrifying attack blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. The attacks were densely packed. It was unknown how many attacks blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. A small half of them were in the Divine Emperor realm. Activate the formation with all your might. Block it with all your might. A loud roar came from the Ice Demon Star. All over the huge planet, all the Ice Demon Sect disciples were controlling the formation with all their might. The planet's formation was fully activated, emitting a dazzling radiance. However, when the attacks from the outside landed on the Grand Formation, the Grand Formation shook violently. Numerous cracks appeared on its surface, and in the next instant, the Grand Formation collapsed. Bam! Bam! On the Ice Demon Star, countless Ice Demon sect disciples' bodies exploded. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Retreat, retreat, in the Ice Demon Star, someone roared, calling for the remaining people to retreat. After all, there were too many experts this time. Their planet's defensive formation had already been breached, and they could no longer fight. Humph, I gave you a chance just now, but you didn't leave. Now you want to leave? It's too late. You've wasted my strength, and you still want to leave? All of you, die. The experts of the chaotic devil starfield outside were incomparably violent. Their killing intent soared to the sky. Wave after wave of attacks blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the Ice Demon Star had turned into a purgatory. Regardless of their cultivation level, they exploded and turned into ashes under the terrifying power. The frenzied bombardment lasted for a while. The Ice Demon Star, which was originally filled with vitality, had turned into a purgatory. Countless living beings were obliterated. There weren't many living beings left. Charge! Following that, the forces outside rushed towards the Ice Demon Star, looking for the entrance to Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace. This time, the news of Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace had suddenly spread across the chaotic devil starfield. It had shocked countless experts in the chaotic devil starfield. All the forces in the chaotic devil starfield were alarmed and rushed towards the Ice Demon Star. Those were the 9 Life Spirit Palaces under the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The temptation was too great. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court was an existence that could challenge the Heavenly Palace. How many treasures would there be in the 9 Life Spirit Palaces left behind? Chapter 38-58. The Ice Demon Star was completely engulfed in blood and fire. There were at least dozens of powerful evil forces wreaking havoc on the Ice Demon Star field. They claimed to be searching for the entrance to the Ice Demon Soul Palace, but in reality, they were burning, killing, and looting. The remaining people of the Ice Demon sect either escaped or were killed. A powerful force disappeared in the blink of an eye. This was the chaotic devil star field. The destruction of forces happened at any time. In fact, these powerful and evil forces were even fighting each other on the Ice Demon Star. Kill. You're courting death. Get out of the Ice Demon Star. You're the ones courting death. On the Ice Demon Star, fighting continued. Shouts shook the sky, and divine light illuminated the dark starry sky. What should we do? Ling Yue asked. Wait, we can only wait and act according to the situation. Lu Ming said. There were too many powerful forces gathered in the chaotic devil star field. Some of them were already beyond their ability to deal with. If they rushed in recklessly, only death would await them. They could only act according to the situation. Boom! Suddenly, a violent roar came from the Ice Demon Star. Magma soared into the sky. Some people were fighting fiercely, destroying an area of the Ice Demon Star. Rubble flew everywhere, and magma rushed into the starry sky. Although the Ice Demon sect had laid down a formation on the Ice Demon Star, it still couldn't withstand the devastating attacks of so many experts. Finally, the Ice Demon Star couldn't take it anymore. Boom! Boom! Large explosions occurred in other areas. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The scene was terrifying. We didn't find the entrance to the Ice Demon Soul Palace. Then let's destroy the Ice Demon Star. I don't believe that the entrance to the Ice Demon Soul Palace can be hidden anywhere. That's right. Even if it's hidden in the core of the planet, we have to find it. Loud roars came from all over the Ice Demon Star. They were the leaders of the major forces, powerful and terrifying existences. As these experts spoke, the Ice Demon Star trembled even more violently. Previously, it was only the aftershocks of some people fighting that bombarded the ice demon star. Now, many experts took the initiative to attack the ice demon star. The ice demon star was just an ordinary planet. Even if the ice demon sect had laid down a formation, it was useless. It kept crumbling. Boom! Finally, with a deafening explosion, the ice demon star completely exploded. From afar, it looked like a firework. The densely packed sound echoed as they rapidly retreated to avoid the impact of the star explosion. However, the weak creatures that originally lived on the ice demon star had already been reduced to ashes the moment the ice demon star exploded. In that instant, it was unknown just how many creatures fell, the number at least in the billions. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. This battle was too intense. The chaotic Devil Star field was truly chaotic. In fact, in the primitive universe, most battles wouldn't affect such planets. Most of the time, they would destroy meteorites, barren planets, or resource planets. It was rare to destroy this kind of life planet because there were too many creatures living on it. Destroying it would result in too many deaths. Moreover, on a planet with life, there would usually be a powerful planet array. Some of the aftershocks would be very difficult to extinguish. When some terrifying existences fought, they would restrain themselves or fly into the vast starry skies to fight. This could be considered an unwritten law of the great desolate universe. Of course, there were some extermination battles that couldn't be bothered so much. Destroying a planet with life was common. Of course, some high-level life planets and super-life planets were difficult to destroy. After all, they were very stable. Not to mention the mother planet. For example, the mother planet of the dragon race was still immortal after experiencing the extermination of the dragon race. Slowly, the ice demon star exploded into rubble and flew into the vast starry skies. However, a stone door appeared at the location of the ice demon star. The stone door was very tall, at least 10,000 feet tall, and floated in the starry skies. Many people were flabbergasted and then overjoyed. The entrance to the Ice Demon Soul Palace. This was most likely the entrance to the Ice Demon Soul Palace. It was actually a stone door that was hidden in the core of the Ice Demon Star. Just now, the Ice Demon Star had been destroyed, and this stone door had appeared. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji were also stunned. This scene was also beyond their expectations. If they came alone, it would not be easy to find. First, how to hide the Ice Demon sect's attention. Second, unless they searched the entire surface of the Ice Demon sect, they might not think of going to the core of the Ice Demon Star to search. That would definitely waste a lot of time. Even though they did not know who had leaked the news, it would save them a lot of time. Open it. Swish, 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 in the blink of an eye, at least 100 silhouettes rushed towards the stone door. Boom, 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 these people bombarded the stone door, but the stone door shook violently and showed no signs of opening. It was as steady as Mount Tai. Attack from the other side. Someone appeared behind the stone door. Actually, the two sides of the stone door looked the same. They looked the same. Boom, boom, boom. These people attacked from the back, but it was useless. They still could not open it. Get out of the way. Someone shouted loudly, stepping out. That person's chi was extremely terrifying. His chi was like smoke, piercing through the starry skies. It's the leader of the demon alligator clan. Someone cried out in alarm, recognizing this person. It was a tall and sturdy old man. He was very famous in the chaotic demon star area. He was the leader of a terrifying group and had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. The 7th godly emperor layer was already at the top of the chaotic demon star area. There were not many people like that in the entire chaotic demon star area. Demon alligator, since you're here, I'll also join in the fun. Someone laughed and a silhouette appeared. That person was surrounded by demonic fog and it was impossible to see his face clearly. However, his chi was extremely terrifying. He wasn't any weaker than the leader of the demon alligator clan. After that, 7 or 8 people appeared. Their chi was terrifying. The weakest of those people had the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. It could be said that the most terrifying group of people in the chaotic demon star area had arrived. Bing Xian's life soul palace is destined to belong to the Blood Skull pirate group. A cold and tyrannical voice sounded. Then, ripples appeared in the void. A large group of people suddenly appeared in the void. Those people's chi was terrifying, especially the leader of the group. He was the leader of the demon alligator clan and had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. It's the Blood Skull pirate group. The faces of the people of the chaotic devil starfield darkened and became extremely solemn. The Blood Skull pirate group was terrifyingly strong. They were spread all over the universe. The chaotic demon star area also had a branch of the Blood Skull pirate group. Those people were the strongest cultivators of the Blood Skull pirate group in the chaotic demon star area. The Blood Skull pirate group again. In the distance, Lu Ming was speechless. Why did he have to meet the Blood Skull pirate group everywhere? Chapter 38-59. Since he had killed the young master of the Blood Skull pirates, wherever he went, he would run into people from the Blood Skull pirates. He also had that strange cursing strength on his body. If he got too close to the Blood Skull pirates, they would sense his presence. He had already searched his body, but he hadn't found the cursing strength. He didn't know where it was hidden. It seemed like he had to find an opportunity to search his body from head to toe. The leader of the Blood Skull pirates was a cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer. He stepped forwards and walked towards the stone door. Let's join hands and open the door. When we get to the Xian Ice Life Palace, we'll fight for the treasures, said the leader of the demon crocodile clan. Join hands? Fight for the treasures? You think you're qualified? I'm telling you, piss off. The Xian Ice Life Palace belongs to the Blood Skull pirates, shouted the cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer from the Blood Skull pirates. What? You want to keep it for yourself? Many people's expressions changed, and some people shouted angrily. It seems like you're not stupid. Piss off, said the strong cultivator of the Blood Skull pirates, smiling coldly. Hee, the Blood Skull pirates are indeed strong, but in the chaotic demon star area, you're just a branch. You think you can threaten all of us? Ridiculous, said the leader of the demon crocodile clan. Indeed. Besides, will the strong cultivators of the Blood Skull pirates dare come here? If they do, I don't mind spreading the news. There are many strong clans in the chaotic universe who want to destroy the Blood Skull pirates, said another strong cultivator, smiling coldly. The strong cultivators of the chaotic demon star area were all cruel and ruthless. How could they be easily threatened? If the Blood Skull pirates dared threaten them, they would threaten them back. The Blood Skull pirates were indeed strong, but the strong cultivators of the Blood Skull pirates' headquarters wouldn't dare come to the chaotic demon star area. If they did, they would spread the news and many clans would try to destroy the Blood Skull pirates. The Blood Skull pirates were notorious. They had offended many strong clans, and many clans wanted to destroy them. They were scattered all the time, so it was difficult to find their headquarters. The strong cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer grunted coldly, but he didn't say anything. Indeed, the experts of the Blood Skull pirate gang didn't dare to come here, because this place was close to the territory of the devils. If the devils sent a few experts here, the Blood Skull pirate gang would be wiped out. Why don't you join forces? If you don't want to, then so be it. the patriarch of the demon crocodile clan said. Then, with a long roar, he transformed into a demon crocodile that was tens of thousands of meters long. His body was covered with pitch-black scales, and his demon chi soared into the sky. Whoosh! His tail lashed out at the stone door like a bolt of lightning. Its power was terrifying, and the entire starry sky trembled. Boom boom boom, the other cultivators of the 6th and 7th godly emperor layers also attacked at the same time. Terrifying attacks bombarded the stone gate. With so many experts attacking together, the power was shocking. It could destroy a large area of the starry sky and destroy countless planets. In the end, these attacks all landed on the stone door. However, the stone door only shook and showed no signs of opening. Again! Shouted the leader of the demon alligator clan. He continued attacking. The others also attacked. This time, even the strongest cultivators of the Blood Skull pirate gang attacked, but it was useless. The stone door was as stable as Mount Tai. It didn't move at all. The strong cultivators attacked continuously, but after a while, they still couldn't break it. Damn it! Shouted some people furiously. In the end, they stopped attacking. Fuck! Could it be that the stone door can't be broken? Is there a deployment spell on it? Shouted some people furiously. However, after studying it for a while, they didn't have a clue. In the distance, Lu Ming and the others were watching. At that moment, Xiao Wuji looked around and suddenly flew towards the stone door. He was extremely fast. By the time Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei came back to their senses, Xiao Wuji had already flown far away. Fuck! What does he want to do? Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei were astonished. Lu Ming wanted to chase after him, but he had misgivings. The strong cultivators of the Blood Skull pirate gang were guarding there. If he chased after him, he would most likely be discovered by the Blood Skull pirate gang. Seeing that Lu Ming didn't chase after him, Ling Yuwei also didn't follow him. She was no match for Xiao Wuji alone. With this delay, Xiao Wuji had already flown far away and approached the stone door. No one stopped Xiao Wuji. In fact, there were many people around the stone door. Many of them were studying it, and the strong cultivators couldn't be bothered. After all, the stone door couldn't be opened. Soon, Xiao Wuji arrived at the stone door. At that moment, he took out the snow-white seal. As soon as the seal was taken out, it immediately emitted a bright light. Countless runes shone and emitted a powerful fluctuation. Then, the seal flew out and grew rapidly. Buzz! The stone door also began to vibrate, as if it was resonating with the seal. This scene attracted everyone's attention. Many strong cultivators looked at Xiao Wuji, and their eyes lit up. Suddenly, the large seal flew toward the stone gate. It actually flew directly into the stone gate and disappeared. Gotcha! The stone door shook and then opened to both sides. The stone door was about to open. Many people's eyes lit up. I didn't expect that seal to be the key to opening the stone door. Xiao Wuji never mentioned it to us. Ling Yuwei gritted her teeth. I'm afraid that Xiao Wuji was the one who leaked the news. I just don't know why he leaked the news and attracted so many experts. Lu Ming said. It was obvious that they had all been tricked by Xiao Wuji. The one who leaked the news was definitely Xiao Wuji. Rumble. After a while, the stone door opened completely. Hoo-hoo, as soon as the stone door opened, a cold wind blew out. Through the stone door, one could clearly see that there was a snow-white world inside. It was a strange feeling. The stone door floated in the air. Both sides were empty, but once the stone door opened, it led to an unfamiliar world. This was a spatial door. Swish! Xiao Wuji reacted quickly. As soon as the stone door opened, he rushed into it and disappeared. Charge in! Charge! The others also reacted and rushed towards the stone door. A few top experts were the fastest. In a flash, they rushed into the stone door. After that, the others also rushed into the stone door. In less than a minute, everyone in the starry sky had rushed into the starry sky and disappeared. Gotcha! After everyone rushed into the stone gate actually started to slowly close. Not good. Let's go in too. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's expressions changed. They rushed towards the stone door as fast as they could. Chapter 3860. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei were very fast. They flew through the air and arrived at the stone door in the blink of an eye. Finally, before the stone door closed, they rushed into the stone door. When the two of them rushed through the stone door, it closed with a gotcha sound. Then, it quickly became illusory and transparent. In the end, it completely disappeared from the void, as if it had never appeared. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the cold wind whistled, bone-chilling. After Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei rushed through the stone door, they arrived at a world of ice and snow. As far as the eye could see, it was a vast expanse of white that stretched as far as the eye could see. Is the Ice Profound Life Soul Hall a world of ice and snow? Lu Ming whispered. Swish! Suddenly, a few figures flew past in the distance. They were people from the Devil Chaos Star region. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming said. After that, the two of them followed behind the few people from before and flew in that direction. After crossing several snow-covered mountain ranges, they saw a few palaces built on top of a mountain peak. Boom! Intense rumbling sounds came from those palaces. Demonic light shot into the sky as a few figures rushed out and engaged in an intense battle. Soon after, someone screamed miserably and was killed here. Blood dyed the snow red. The remaining people were still fighting fiercely. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei looked at each other and flew over. This was because these people's cultivations weren't very high. They were all at the first level of the Divine Emperor realm. As soon as Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei approached, they were discovered by the few people who were fighting. Humph, a mere Divine Lord wants to join in the fun? You're courting death. One of the sturdy men wearing a black robe with a tiger embroidered on it coldly shouted. With a shake of his demonic blade, 2 rays of blade light slashed towards Lu Ming. This person was very strong. Amongst the few people in the chaotic battle, his battle strength was the highest and also the most tyrannical. The saber light was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. Humph! Ling Yuwei snorted coldly. With a wave of her hand, 2 arrows shot out, blocking the 2 saber beams. The burly man with the tiger embroidered on his robe was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Ling Yuwei to be so strong that she could block his attack. He was about to continue attacking, but Ling Yuwei didn't give him the chance. Ling Yuwei condensed a longbow in her hand. She pulled the bowstring and an arrow flew out, flying towards the burly man whose robe was embroidered with a fierce tiger. The speed of the arrow was astonishing. It pierced through the void like a falling meteor. Not good. The burly man's expression changed drastically as he felt the terrifying power of this arrow. As he frantically retreated, the demonic path in his hand continuously slashed out. However, it was useless. A mere first layer of the Divine Emperor realm couldn't block a single attack from Ling Yuwei. Puff! As the arrow flew past, the burly man with a tiger embroidered on his robe was pierced between his eyebrows, and he died on the spot. Hiss! When the remaining people looked at Ling Yuwei, their eyes were filled with fear. They never thought that Ling Yuwei, a quasi-emperor, would have such terrifying battle prowess. She killed a powerful divine emperor in one move. They were secretly afraid. Fortunately, they weren't the ones who attacked just now. Otherwise, they would have been the ones to die. The remaining people stopped their chaotic battle at the same time and looked at Ling Yue cautiously. "All of you, scram!" Ling Yue coldly shouted, very domineering. "Little girl, we were the ones who discovered this place. Isn't it too overbearing for you to tell us to scram now?" Someone spoke up, his eyes flashing with a cunning light. These people were all experts of the Devil Chaos Star Field. To be able to survive in the Devil Chaos Star Field and obtain a good harvest, they were all extremely daring, scheming, and ruthless people. He wouldn't be easily scared away by Ling Yue. "If you don't scram, then I'll have to personally make you scram," Ling Yue said coldly as she stepped forward. The bow in her hand emitted a resplendent light. However, those people suddenly moved. Their figures dispersed, constantly changing their positions in the air. They had just sent a sound transmission and decided to join hands. Previously, they were still enemies and were fighting each other. However, facing Ling Yue, this common enemy, they chose to join hands. "Humph, don't think that you can dodge my bow and arrow just like that." Ling Yue snorted coldly, and another arrow flew out. Her arrows could lock onto her opponent. No matter how the opponent dodged, they would be able to dodge Ling Yue's arrows. "This is bad." That person was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. In the next moment, he was pierced by the arrow. However, the moment Ling Yue shot out the arrow, the eyes of two experts from the Devil Chaos Star Field lit up and flashed with cold killing intent. "Catch that brat!" These two experts pounced towards Lu Ming at the same time. Lu Ming was only at the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm, so he was definitely not that strong. As long as they took down Lu Ming, they would be able to use Lu Ming to threaten Ling Yue. In the blink of an eye, they had thought of this move. They could be said to be cunning. Unfortunately, they had underestimated Lu Ming. "You think I'm a soft persimmon?" The corner of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a cold smile. His arms trembled, his strength erupted, and he suddenly threw out a few punches. Boom! Boom! Two terrifying fist forces pierced through the void, crushing towards the two experts of the chaotic Devil Starfield. "Ah! Damn it, how is this possible?" The two experts from the chaotic Devil Star Field screamed in disbelief. Their voices were filled with fear. The moment Lu Ming made his move, they could feel that Lu Ming's battle prowess was simply terrifying. How could an 8th-level Divine Lord have such horrifying strength? Then, their bodies were annihilated by the fist force, and they died. The last remaining person was from the chaotic Devil Starfield. Seeing this scene, he was nearly scared out of his wits. "Evildoers, evildoers! Two evildoers, run!" He roared in his heart as he frantically retreated. However, how could Ling Yue let him escape? An arrow flew past and took care of this person. In this area, only Lu Ming and Ling Yue were left. The two of them stepped out and flew toward the palace on top of the snowy mountain. The palace had been maintained in perfect condition. The doors to the palace were all open. However, it was completely silent, without the slightest sound. The two of them walked into the palace and discovered that everything inside was complete. Tables, chairs, and so on, everything was available. Moreover, it could be seen that they were all using very high-grade materials. However, when the two of them carefully sensed it, they discovered that these materials had already lost all their spirituality and had become trash. Thinking about it, the Life Spirit Heavenly Court was a powerful force in the early days of the Heavenly Palace era. It was already very far away from the present. Unless it was an extremely high-level divine weapon and had a seal, it would be very difficult to preserve it completely. It was normal for its spirituality to be lost. The two of them scanned the area and then walked towards a corridor behind the hall. Soon, they arrived at a backyard. However, when they arrived here, Lu Ming and Ling Yue's hearts trembled violently. This was because there were some living beings in the backyard. There were all kinds of races, but these living beings had all turned into dried corpses. Yes, they were like skeletons. It was as if their essence, energy, and spirit had been sucked away. Book guest reading website. Chapter 3861. All of the living beings, about 100 of them, had their essence, energy, and spirit sucked out and turned into dried corpses. Obviously, these people were the residents of this palace. These dried corpses were sealed in ice, which was why they didn't decay. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue carefully examined them and discovered that these people didn't have the slightest injuries. There were no signs of fighting at the scene. It was as if these creatures had their essence, energy, and spirit sucked away by a terrifying existence in an instant. The two of them observed for a moment, but didn't find anything. They continued to walk inside and discovered some rooms. When they walked into the room, their pupils shrank again. In the room, there was a humanoid creature sitting at the table drinking tea. He still maintained the posture of drinking tea, but his body had already turned into a dried corpse. It was the same as the people in the backyard. Following that, they looked at several rooms in a row and saw similar problems. It was as if these creatures had unknowingly had their essence, energy, and spirit sucked away. What happened back then? Could it be that a terrifying existence suddenly descended and sucked away the essence, energy, and spirit of these creatures? The two of them guessed. This was because there were no signs of fighting in this palace. Everything was complete. If it was said that the experts of the Heavenly Palace had killed their way to the door and exterminated the people of the Heavenly Court, how could they be so complete? There should be traces of fighting. Unless the person who attacked was too strong, so strong that no one had the slightest ability to resist. They couldn't figure it out. The two of them couldn't figure it out, so they could only suppress the doubts in their hearts and continue to investigate. However, after walking around for a long time, he didn't find anything. Although the divine pills, divine medicines, and refining materials had all been preserved here and hadn't been taken away by anyone, too much time had passed. They had lost all their spirituality and were no longer of any use. Even the storage rings of the living beings had collapsed due to the passage of time. This palace shouldn't be much in the ice profound life soul palace. It's relatively low level and doesn't have any high-level treasures. All the materials aren't sealed either. If it's a high-level place and some treasures are sealed, they should be able to be preserved perfectly. Ling Yue said. He seemed to be comforting himself. If it was like this, wouldn't they have made a wasted trip? The two of them left this place and continued forward in one direction. However, after flying for some distance, Lu Ming frowned and looked in a certain direction. In the distant sky, there were two big men coldly looking at Lu Ming and Ling Yue. When they saw that Lu Ming had discovered them, their figures flashed and they left. Who is it? Ling Yue said. I don't know, but I'm sure he's up to no good. Let's be careful. Lu Ming said. Immediately, the two of them changed directions and flew in another direction. However, not long after, Lu Ming felt that he was being followed again. He glanced in a direction and saw a few figures looking at him from afar. After being discovered by Lu Ming, these people left in a flash. Are they from the Blood Skull Pirates? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and his face turned solemn. This was very likely. After all, the forces in the Devil Chaos Star field didn't know him. Only the Blood Skull Pirates had a grudge against him. Moreover, he had killed the young master of the Blood Skull Pirates, and his body was entangled with a wisp of curse power. The Blood Skull Pirates could sense it. Could it be that the Blood Skull Pirates had discovered him, but because of their small number, they didn't dare to make a move and were waiting for the experts of the Blood Skull Pirates to come? At the thought of this, Lu Ming's heart trembled. Not good, we're being watched. We have to get rid of these people quickly. Lu Ming said. Let's go. Ling Yue said. Immediately, the two of them kept changing their positions and even used some camouflage. An hour later. Suddenly, buzz buzz buzz, the void shook. The space in front of Lu Ming and the others suddenly trembled, and a large group of figures suddenly appeared. At least 100 people blocked Lu Ming and the others' path. Blood Skull Pirates. Lu Ming's face changed. As Nye Tian had expected, these people were from the Blood Skull Pirates. The leader was a burly man with a face full of curly hair. He was the 7th-layer Divine Emperor realm expert of the Blood Skull Pirates. In addition, there were several 6th-layer Divine Emperor realm experts, all of whom were extremely terrifying. He had really been discovered by the Blood Skull Pirates. The bearded man's eyes were like two sharp swords, piercing towards Lu Ming, filled with a tyrannical aura. Brat, it seems like you're the one who killed the young master of my Blood Skull Pirates. How dare you show up here? Good, very good. The tyrannical aura in the bearded man's eyes became even stronger. The terrifying aura made the atmosphere between heaven and earth extremely oppressive. Go, you go first. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Ling Yue. In the face of so many experts, even if Ling Yue stayed, she wouldn't be of much use. It was better to let Ling Yue leave first. Let's go together. Ling Yue said. The two of them retreated at the same time, quickly flying backward. You still want to leave? Stay. A few experts of the Blood Skull Pirates rushed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. From afar, they condensed a few big hands and grabbed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Of course, these people were not the strongest. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were not quasi-emperors yet. They didn't think that they needed to send out people of the 6th or 7th layer Divine Emperor realm. In fact, the 3 people who attacked were all of the 3rd layer Divine Emperor realm. In their opinion, 3rd layer Divine Emperor realm cultivation was enough. Spirit Arrow. A towering tree appeared behind Ling Yue. A majestic green chi flowed into her body. Her body emitted a dazzling light, and a few dazzling arrows soared into the sky. Boom! 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 The arrows and the huge hands collided, and a violent explosion erupted. Ling Yue's face turned pale. She quickly retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. Bang! Lu Ming stepped forward. Qiuqiu had already turned into armor, covering his body. He was holding a silver spear in his hand. The spear shook and stabbed out a few times. 3 moonlight spear lights pierced through the void, stabbing towards the 3 experts of the Blood Skull Pirates. It was extremely fast, like the light of the moon, unfathomable. Not good. The 3 3rd-layer Divine Emperor realm experts of the Blood Skull Pirates paled. They felt the terror of the spear and wanted to retreat, but it was too late. In fact, when they attacked Lu Ming and Ling Yue, they didn't even think of retreating. Did they need to retreat when they were just quasi-emperors and 8th-layer Divine Emperors? It was too late to regret now. You dare, the bearded man roared. Puff! Puff! The moonlight spear flashed, and the 3 3rd-layer Divine Emperor realm experts of the Blood Skull Pirates died. Damn it, this brat! The Blood Skull Pirates were shocked. They roared at the same time and attacked Lu Ming and Ling Yue. This time, the truly terrifying existence made a move. Chapter 3862. This time, the Blood Skull Pirates had sent out some formidable experts. Several cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor realm attacked Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Their terrifying attacks covered the sky and covered the sun, heading toward Lu Ming and Ling Yue. A cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer was terrifying. He could destroy the starry sky. Not to mention 8th-level Divine Lords and Quasi-Emperors, even divine emperors would be killed in large numbers. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's expressions were extremely grave. Each of these existences was equivalent to the previous sect master of the Lingheng sect. Elven Royal Bow. Ling Yuwei directly took out the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood, and all the power in her body poured into the Elven King's bow. With a swoosh, a terrifying arrow flew out, as if it came from the Elven King from countless years ago. That arrow was terrifyingly powerful. A cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Blood Skull Pirate Group's expression changed drastically. He raised his hands and 2 pitch-black skeletal hands moved towards the arrow. He wanted to grab it. The 2 attacks collided in an instant. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion rang out as the 2 of them reached a stalemate. However, the stalemate only lasted for a few breaths of time before the pitch-black skeletal hand was pierced through. Then, the arrow flew through the air and shot towards the Blood Skull Pirate. Ah! The blood skeleton let out a blood-curdling screech as its body was pierced through. It was sent flying backward while coughing up blood. It was severely injured. That person's eyes were filled with deep fear. Xiao Chen was only a quasi-emperor, yet he was able to severely injure him with 1 arrow and even make him feel the threat of death. One could imagine the shock in his heart. The other experts who were charging towards Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei were also shocked. It's that blood-stained bow. However, with her cultivation, it must be very difficult for her to use such a weapon. That's right. I don't believe that he can use it a second time. Let's kill him in one go. The remaining 2 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer immediately realized what was going on. Their eyes were sharp. Instead of retreating, they pounced on Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei at an even faster speed. Their terrifying attacks emitted even more shocking waves of energy. Hoo! At this time, a bead appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was the Gale Pearl. Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique to draw out a power from the Gale Pearl. That strength turned into a hurricane and swept the 2 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Blood Skull Pirate Group into it. The terrifying gale erupted with a terrifying cutting power, as well as a terrifying high temperature, crazily attacking the 2 experts. Sizzle! A strange voice spread throughout the entire area, accompanied by the angry shouts of the 2 experts. In the next moment, the 2 figures retreated rapidly, looking at Lu Ming in shock and anger. Numerous wounds had appeared on their bodies. It was a horrifying sight. Even with their cultivation, they were still injured by the energy inside the Gale Pearl. The 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Blood Skull Pirate Group had been injured by Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. If other people had seen this, their jaws would have dropped. Go! Lu Ming took advantage of this opportunity to tell Ling Yuwei telepathically. The 2 of them turned into 2 streaks of light and retreated rapidly. The cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer were too strong. Even if the 2 of them used their full strength, they still couldn't kill their opponents. They could only injure them. If their opponents continued attacking, they would probably threaten them. It was better to leave. Damn it! Quick, attack together. Keep them here. The burly man from the Blood Skull Pirates roared furiously. His raging and ice-cold killing intent seemed to be able to freeze the void. The bearded man hadn't attacked before because he thought that he didn't need to do anything to deal with Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. There were 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer there. He would never have thought that 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer would be injured. At this time, he had no choice but to attack himself. Boom! A pitch-black skeleton claw appeared. It was incomparably huge. It broke the air and grabbed Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. How terrifying! A cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer was 10 times more terrifying than 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer. The pitch-black skeletal claws directly grabbed the gale that Lu Ming had drawn out. A terrifying roar sounded. These strong winds were directly pierced through and collapsed. Although a portion of the Black Claw's strength had been weakened, it still grabbed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. The claw hadn't arrived yet, but Lu Ming and Ling Yue sensed a terrifying danger. Their hair stood on end. If they were caught this time, the only thing that awaited them would be death. Let's go all out. Ling Yue looked ruthless. She continued picking up the elven royal bow. Her strength kept pouring into the elven royal bow, and an arrow condensed. She couldn't just give up. She had to fight with all her might. Unfortunately, Ling Yue's strength was too low, and the elven royal bow with blood was too high. Shooting an arrow was already Ling Yue's limit. Therefore, when she wanted to pull the second arrow, her delicate body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as snow. The arrow that had just been condensed halfway also collapsed and disappeared. Explode for me. Lu Ming shouted loudly, pulling the strong wind from the great divine wind technique to the extreme. Another terrifying gale swept out from the zephyr bead in his hand, sweeping towards the bearded man. Boom! The bearded man was like a divine mountain. His body carried a tyrannical aura. Using the black skeleton claw to open a path, he rushed past and defeated the powerful gale. Lu Ming's great divine wind technique was still lacking. He couldn't trigger a stronger gale from the zephyr bead, and couldn't cause destructive damage to the bearded man. Breaking through the gale, the bearded man's figure quickly approached Lu Ming and Ling Yue. It's really shocking that two juniors can force me to personally take action. However, you're still a bit inexperienced. Now, take the initiative to hand over the treasures in your hands, and I can leave you with an intact corpse. The bearded man said coldly. His eyes were fixed on the zephyr bead in Lu Ming's hand and the elven royal bow in Ling Yue's hand, revealing a scorching and greedy light. These two treasures made him incomparably passionate. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were only at the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm and the Quasi-Emperor realm. If they could unleash such power, then how much power could they unleash in his hands? What should we do? At this moment, Lu Ming and Ling Yue's thoughts raced as they thought of countermeasures. The two of them were the kind of people who wouldn't give up easily. Even in the face of a desperate situation, the two of them wouldn't give up easily. As long as there was a sliver of a chance, they would give it their all. However, at this moment, the other experts of the Blood Skull Pirates also surrounded them, including the 3 6th-level Divine Emperor realm existences. The two of them were in a fatal crisis. Chapter 3863. Go, you go first. At this time, Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Ling Yue. Lu Ming thought of a countermeasure, and that was the purple copper coffin. This was the only trump card that Lu Ming could use right now. However, every time he used the purple copper coffin, Lu Ming would tremble in fear. He didn't know what unexpected things would happen. Therefore, before using the purple copper coffin, it was best to let Ling Yue leave first to prevent anything unexpected from happening. Let me go first. Then you, Ling Yue was startled. Don't worry, once you leave, I have a way to leave. Lu Ming said. Ling Yue's eyes flickered. She guessed that Lu Ming might have some terrifying trump card that he couldn't use in front of her. Alright, I'll go first. Be careful. In the end, Ling Yue nodded and turned into a green ray of light, quickly retreating. You want to leave? Stay. The bearded man shouted loudly. A terrifying aura erupted and a powerful pressure enveloped the entire space. The entire space seemed to have turned solid, causing Ling Yue's speed to drop drastically. At the same time, the bearded man was about to attack Ling Yue. At this moment, the purple copper coffin appeared in Lu Ming's hands. Ka-cha! Lu Ming suddenly pushed the purple copper coffin. the purple copper coffin made a kacha sound and opened a crack. Immediately, an incomparably terrifying aura spread out. When the bearded man felt this aura, his entire body immediately tensed up. He let out a strange cry of fear and retreated backwards like a mouse meeting a cat. What is this? The bearded man stared at the purple copper coffin in Lu Ming's hands in fear. His eyes were filled with fear. Just now, he seemed to have felt an incomparably terrifying existence staring at him from within the purple copper coffin. It was as if he was an ant in front of such an existence and could be blown to death with a single breath. Therefore, he subconsciously retreated backwards. And with this delay, Ling Yue had long since disappeared without a trace. Shua. Lu Ming carried the purple copper coffin and also chose a direction to fly in. Strange, there is no reaction from the purple copper coffin. While flying, Lu Ming was surprised. In the past, every time he opened the purple copper coffin, there would be a powerful force that would destroy his enemies. However, this time, other than the terrifying aura, there was no attack from the purple copper coffin. At that moment, the burly man and the other members of the Blood Skull Pirates also noticed the anomaly. No movement? The bearded man was doubtful. Only the aura was being emitted, and there was no other movement. Could it be fake? Was all of this a smokescreen? Chase him. Don't let him escape. The curly-bearded man gave the order and rushed out, chasing after Lu Ming. The others also chased after Lu Ming. After all, Lu Ming's cultivation base was only at the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm. In terms of speed, he was far inferior to the Blood Skull Pirates. Soon, the distance between the two sides was shortened. However, none of the Blood Skull Pirates dared to get too close to Lu Ming. This was because they were afraid of the purple copper coffin. A moment ago, the aura being emitted from the purple copper coffin was too terrifying. It made them tremble with fear, and they were afraid that there would be a terrifying attack. Just like that, Lu Ming quickly flew away, and the Blood Skull Pirates chased after him. Before they knew it, they had already flown a long distance. Humph. It's been so long. Is it really an illusion? The bearded man revealed a look of bewilderment. You, go and check it out. The bearded man looked at an old man in linen clothes and ordered. The old man in linen clothes' expression changed drastically. The bearded man didn't dare to go up himself, but he had ordered him to. It was obvious that he wanted him to go first. If there was any danger, he would be the one to die, not the bearded man. He didn't want to, but he had to obey the bearded man's order. In the Blood Skull Pirates, the hierarchy was very strict. If a superior gave an order, the superior could kill the subordinate if he didn't obey. Even though he had the cultivation base of the 5th godly emperor layer, he would be killed instantly by the bearded man who had the cultivation base of the 7th godly emperor layer. You don't want to go? The bearded man's eyes were filled with killing intent. I'll go, said the old man in linen clothes hastily. Then, he rushed towards Lu Ming. Little boy, go to hell, shouted the old man in linen clothes ferociously. He quickly flew towards Lu Ming. Of course, he was very careful. He had at least 10 layers of defense around himself. Even though he was shouting loudly, he was actually very careful. He didn't dare to get close to Lu Ming at all. Instead, he slowly closed the distance between him and Lu Ming. Suddenly, another powerful aura erupted from the purple copper coffin. Ah! Shouted the old man in linen clothes. He jumped up like a frightened rabbit and quickly retreated. His face was pale and his heart was still pounding. However, this time, there was only chi coming from the purple copper coffin. Apart from that, there was no other movement. There's still no reaction. It seems like the purple copper coffin will react to anything. I can't rely on the purple copper coffin too much in the future, thought Lu Ming. He didn't slow down at all and continued flying. "What a piece of trash!" scolded the bearded man as he glanced coldly at the old man in linen clothes. However, he didn't dare to get close to him. "Damn it! What's in that copper coffin?" roared the bearded man in his heart. However, he wasn't willing to leave just like that. Not to mention the treasures in Lu Ming's hands, just the fact that Lu Ming was the one who had killed the young master of the Blood Skull Pirates was enough for him to not let him go. Otherwise, if the leader of the Blood Skull Pirates found out that he had let Lu Ming go, he would end up in a miserable state. Therefore, the burly man with the curly beard and his men followed closely behind Lu Ming. Just like that, another 2 hours passed. It's been so long, but there's still no reaction. This kid is probably bluffing. He's probably trying to confuse me, thought the bearded man in his heart. The look of brutality in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. He was considering whether he should take the risk and attack. I can't let this go on. I won't be able to fool him for long. I have to find a way to escape. Lu Ming's mind raced. If this went on, the old man would definitely take the risk and attack him. If the copper coffin didn't unleash its might, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the old man by himself. Only death would await him. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flickered. There was a snowy mountain in front of him. Gazing into the distance, he could only see a vast expanse of whiteness. Even though he was so far away, he could still feel a terrifying coldness filling the air. Even with Lu Ming's current physical strength, he felt as if his blood was about to freeze. Only by unleashing his forbidden power was he able to ward off the coldness. Such a terrifying coldness. If it's already so terrifying from such a distance, it must be even more terrifying in the depths of the snowy mountain. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to shake off the Blood Skull Pirates. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 3864. When Lu Ming saw that terrifying snowy mountain, he wasn't scared at all. On the contrary, he was delighted. He flew towards the snowy mountain at an even faster speed. Hoo. Once he flew into the range of the snow mountain, he immediately felt a gust of terrifying cold wind blowing toward him. A layer of frost immediately condensed on his body. Lu Ming covered his entire body with the taboo power and barely managed to block the chill of the frost. Only a monstrous cultivator like Lu Ming could withstand such a terrifying cold wind. If it had been anyone else who had not broken through to the godly emperor layer, they would have turned into an ice sculpture. Lu Ming sensed that the deeper they went into the snowy mountain, the colder it would be. When the Blood Skull Pirates arrived, their facial expressions changed drastically. That little boy wants to use the cold chi to block us. Humph. What a fool, said the bearded man while smiling coldly. He could easily see through Lu Ming's plan, but he didn't care. His cultivation level was much higher than Lu Ming's. If Lu Ming could block the cold wind, he could block it too. If he couldn't block it, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to block it before he did. When Lu Ming couldn't block the cold chi anymore, he would definitely use all his trump cards. At that time, they would be able to see if there was anything strange about the copper coffin. They continued flying towards the depths of the snowy mountain. The coldness was becoming more and more terrifying. Lu Ming had the feeling that his body was going to freeze. His blood was going to freeze. Even if he used forbidden strength, it was useless. His forbidden strength was still too weak. He couldn't block the cold chi. His body was covered in a layer of ice and he was moving slower and slower. At that moment, some of the Blood Skull Pirates couldn't block it anymore. Especially those who had the strength of the third godly emperor layer and below. Their bodies were covered in a layer of ice. Their bodies, including their soul, were going to freeze. Those people had no choice but to stop because if they continued, they would die. Only those who had the strength of the fourth godly emperor layer and above could continue. "Humph, I want to see what tricks you're playing." The bearded man grunted coldly. His cultivation level was incredible. He had the strength of the seventh godly emperor layer, and he had awakened many times. Violent divine power burst out continuously, forming shockwaves that rushed out in all directions, pushing away the chill in the surroundings. He was still very relaxed. "I really didn't expect the coldness here to be so terrifying. Even my taboo energy can't block it. I can only rely on the Zephyr Pearl." Lu Ming thought. When he rushed into the snow mountain, he had already thought of a countermeasure, which was to rely on the Gale Pearl. The gale inside the Gale Pearl not only had destructive power, it also had a terrifyingly high temperature, which was just nice to be used to resist the chill here. Lu Ming immediately used the Great Divine Wind technique, drawing out a gust of strong wind from the Gale Pearl. Lu Ming's body seemed to be surrounded by a gust of wind. A circle of strong wind enveloped Lu Ming. Zzz, the high temperature of the strong wind and the cold air of the surroundings were two extremes. When the two extremes collided, there was a dense explosion. As expected, I blocked it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The high temperature of the strong wind blocked the cold qi. Lu Ming felt much more relaxed. He suddenly sped up. Swish, swish. Lu Ming flew over a few snowy mountains, increasing the distance between him and the curly-bearded man and the others. "Oh no, that little boy's treasure can block the cold here." The curly-bearded man's expression changed drastically. He looked grim. "Attack. Let's attack together. That little boy is probably bluffing. He doesn't have any trump cards," shouted the curly-bearded man. Lu Ming had the strong wind to block the cold qi. If it continued, Lu Ming would really escape. The curly-bearded man couldn't wait any longer, so he attacked immediately. Boom! The burly man with the curly beard struck out a palm. The terrifying palm force broke through the chill and blasted toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other cultivators of the fifth and sixth godly emperor layer also attacked. All sorts of terrifying attacks shot towards Lu Ming. "Strong wind, come out!" shouted Lu Ming extremely loudly. He used all his strength to condense the strength of the strong wind pearl. A strong wind rose up and formed a wall behind him. Boom, boom, boom. The curly-bearded man and the others' attacks crashed onto the wall of wind and exploded. After a few breaths, the wall of wind trembled violently and broke apart. Lu Ming felt a violent force pressing down on him. His body shook violently and he was thrown backward, crashing into a snow mountain. A corner of the snow mountain was smashed into smithereens. The snow here was sealed in ice by a terrifying chill. It was even harder than divine weapons. From this, one could see how great the power was. Seventh godly emperor layer, as expected, terrifying. Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. The curly-bearded man's attack had to break through the cold qi first. Part of his strength had already been absorbed by the cold qi, and then he had broken through the wall of wind. The remaining strength was extremely weak, but he had still managed to injure Lu Ming. If he hadn't been weakened, Lu Ming would have been crushed to pieces. Swish, Lu Ming didn't stop. He put away the coffin and flew towards the depths of the snowy mountain. Obviously, the curly-bearded man didn't care about the coffin anymore. Carrying the coffin was useless, so he put it away and sped up. That little boy has exhausted all his abilities. Chase him and avenge the young master, shouted the curly-bearded man coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he charged towards Lu Ming. The distance between the two of them was getting closer. Huff, huff, huff. A cold wind whistled. Lu Ming suddenly shivered. What a terrifying cold qi. That's, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. In front, there was a huge glacier canyon. There was a terrifying chill coming from the glacier canyon. There was actually a trace of it that passed through the gale, making Lu Ming feel a chill. It was really too shocking. But now, to Lu Ming, this was a place that he had been dreaming of. Lu Ming didn't hesitate and immediately flew towards the glacial valley. Not good. Don't let him in. The curly-bearded man roared. He also felt the terrifying chill in the glacial canyon, which made him feel apprehensive. If he allowed Lu Ming to charge out, things would not be good for him. Boom! The curly-bearded man once more attacked. A terrifying attack shot towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used all his strength to control the strong wind bead. Another gale formed a wind wall behind him. There was a deafening sound and a gush of terrifying energy dashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming coughed up blood. His injuries had worsened. But using this energy, Lu Ming's speed suddenly increased, and he charged into the glacial valley. As soon as he dashed into the glacier canyon, Lu Ming sped forward. Around him, the wind and cold qi collided. A series of explosions rang out, blocking the cold qi. Myriad Dao Dragon Emperor. Chapter 3865. Lu Ming charged into the glacial canyon despite his injuries. He used the energy of the Gale Pearl to block the attack of the terrifying chill in the canyon. The mustached man and the others were furious and also rushed into the valley. As soon as they entered the valley, their expressions changed drastically. They were terrified. Ah! Help! A few of the weaker members of the Blood Skull pirate group let out terrified shrieks as a layer of frost covered their bodies. Furthermore, this layer of frost was spreading at an alarming speed, soon covering their entire bodies and turning into a layer of ice armor. Those people only had the strength of the fourth godly emperor layer, but they were frozen. They couldn't move at all. They crashed to the ground and broke into pieces. Only the cultivators of the fourth godly emperor layer and above managed to block the ice, but they didn't have a good time either. They released their godly strength to block the ice and then retreated. When they left the valley, they sat down cross-legged and circulated their qi to block the ice. At that moment, only the mustached man was left in the valley. Little bastard, do you think you can escape from the Blood Skull pirate crew's pursuit by hiding here? None of the people that the Blood Skull pirate crew wants to kill have ever escaped. The bearded man shouted loudly. His eyes were ferocious and murderous intent flashed continuously. You talk a lot of crap. If you're strong enough, come and kill me, said Lu Ming, smiling coldly. Then, he continued flying deeper into the valley. The mustached man was so angry that his beard was trembling. He ground his teeth and continued chasing Lu Ming. However, the deeper they went, the more terrifying the ice became. It was as if it could freeze everything, including all the particles in the universe. Even with the mustached man's cultivation level, it was difficult for him to block the ice. He had to concentrate and circulate his qi to the 10th level to block the ice. However, as a result, the burly man's speed was greatly reduced and his speed was almost the same as Lu Ming's. He could not catch up with Lu Ming at all. The two of them chased and fled. In the blink of an eye, they were thousands of miles into the glacier canyon. Whoosh, whoosh, a terrifying wind was whistling. The valley was surprisingly deep. After 1,000 li, they still hadn't reached the end. They didn't know how deep it was. Boom! Bang! Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the ground. Then, huge figures appeared from all directions. These figures were apes. This kind of ape was snow-white and had a strong physique. It held weapons made of ice in its hands. These apes didn't seem to be afraid of the cold at all. They roared and charged towards Lu Ming and the curly-bearded man. All sorts of weapons shot towards Lu Ming and the curly-bearded man, emitting terrifying fluctuations. Before they even got close, Lu Ming could already feel a terrifying pressure. This kind of pressure was definitely not something that Lu Ming could withstand with his own strength. Lu Ming could only rely on the power of the gale pearl to rush out with the surging gale. As soon as the apes felt the strong wind, they seemed to be very afraid. They suddenly withdrew their attacks halfway and retreated rapidly, increasing the distance between them and Lu Ming. On the other side, a shocking battle was taking place. More than a dozen apes were attacking the curly-bearded man fiercely. The strength of these apes might be far inferior to the curly-bearded man, but in this place, the curly-bearded man's strength was greatly suppressed. On the other hand, these apes were like fish in water. They could even use the terrifying cold to launch attacks. Under this situation, the curly-bearded man was actually forced to retreat again and again. He was in a sorry state. Puff! The curly-bearded man was careless and was swept away. A huge wound appeared on his body, but no blood flowed out of this wound because it was completely frozen. Damn it, the curly-bearded man roared in his heart. He was furious. Ao ao ao, seeing that the curly-bearded man was injured, more apes pounced on the curly-bearded man. Even the apes that were originally charging towards Lu Ming gave up on Lu Ming and charged towards the burly man with the curly beard. The curly-bearded man was even more furious. In such an environment, being besieged by so many apes, it was very likely that he would die here. Little bastard, if you have the ability, stay in this canyon for the rest of your life. Finally, the curly-bearded man let out an unwilling roar and retreated rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Lu Ming's sight. Ha! Lu Ming sneered and let out a sigh of relief. He had finally shaken off the experts of the Blood Skull pirate group, although it was only temporary. Then, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. A steady stream of energy flowed out of every cell in his body and healed Lu Ming's injuries. Before long, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. Not only that, because a trace of potential was stimulated, Lu Ming's cultivation base was also slightly stronger. This is indeed a good place to cultivate. With the coldness here, I might be able to continuously stimulate my potential. Feeling the coldness around him, Lu Ming revealed a thoughtful look. For others, this place was a dangerous place, but for him, it might not be. Perhaps it was a holy place for cultivation. He had a forbidden body and cultivated the forbidden force. As long as he still had potential, he could constantly borrow external forces to stimulate it and achieve a breakthrough. However, Lu Ming couldn't expose himself to the coldness outside. There was a limit to borrowing external forces. When the external force was too strong, he couldn't borrow it anymore and would be killed directly. Obviously, the coldness outside this canyon was enough to freeze Lu Ming to death. He could only take it one step at a time. Huff! Huff! Lu Ming manipulated the gale inside the gale pearl and opened a gap. Immediately, a gust of coldness rushed in. When this gust of coldness rushed in, Lu Ming immediately closed the defense of the gale to prevent other coldness from entering. It's so cold, even though it was just a gust of coldness that enveloped Lu Ming's body, Lu Ming felt a bone-chilling coldness. This coldness was too terrifying. It had completely penetrated into every cell, and even the particles smaller than the cells stopped moving. Block it for me! Lu Ming roared. Energy was constantly stimulated from the 60 trillion cells in his body, covering his whole body to resist this force and prevent himself from being frozen to death. However, it was still very cold, extremely cold. Lu Ming felt as if he was in a 10,000-year-old icehouse. His teeth were chattering non-stop, and his blood seemed to be turning into ice. However, Lu Ming was able to withstand it in the end. He successfully dispelled the chill. At the same time, some of the potential in the depths of his cells was also stimulated. Lu Ming felt that his cultivation base had improved again. This kind of improvement was very shocking and could be clearly felt. It's really effective. Lu Ming was ecstatic, his eyes shining. If he continued to cultivate like this, he had a feeling that it wouldn't be long before he could break through to the 9th level Divine Lord realm. Chapter 3866. The coldness in the glacier canyon was indeed very useful. It could greatly stimulate Lu Ming's potential. Lu Ming was overjoyed and planned to continue cultivating here. Immediately, Lu Ming controlled the gale to open up a gap and let in a trace of coldness. Then, he desperately resisted this coldness. His body was covered in a layer of ice at a speed visible to the naked eye. This ice had frozen Lu Ming's muscles, bones, blood, and internal organs. This was very dangerous. If an ordinary person was frozen like this, their life force would definitely be extinguished. They would definitely be frozen to death. However, it was also because of this that his potential could be stimulated. An endless stream of energy spread out from his cells. After this coldness was completely blocked, Lu Ming felt that his cultivation had increased a little. In the surroundings, the snow-white apes looked at each other in dismay. They looked at Lu Ming, not knowing how to deal with this foreign invader. However, they were extremely afraid of the terrifying high temperature of the gale. They could only wander around, not daring to attack Lu Ming. When Lu Ming saw this scene, he was completely relieved. He ignored these apes and continued to cultivate. Just like this, 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! On this day, the aura on Lu Ming's body suddenly soared. Like smoke, it surged into the sky. 9th level Divine Lord Realm. After 10 days of cultivation, Lu Ming's cultivation went from the 8th level Divine Lord Realm to the 9th level Divine Lord Realm in one fell swoop. This speed was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming was very satisfied. After rising to the 9th level Divine Lord Realm, Lu Ming felt that the strength in his body had increased by a large amount. Even the taboo power was incomparably vigorous, and his combat strength had increased greatly. Now, facing the quasi-emperor Ling Yue, Lu Ming was confident that even if he didn't use the gravity pearl, he could easily defeat Ling Yue. Of course, the premise was that Ling Yue didn't take out the blood-stained elf King Bao. Facing the quasi-emperor Xiao Wuji, Lu Ming was confident that he could defeat him. By now, Lu Ming was confident that he had few opponents under the godly emperor of the primitive universe. I wonder if the Blood Skull pirates have retreated. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming converged his aura and waited for it to stabilize. Then, his figure flashed and flew out of the glacier canyon. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the periphery of the glacier canyon. As soon as they arrived at the periphery of the glacier canyon, they saw some figures sitting cross-legged outside the glacier canyon, blocking the exit of the glacier canyon. They were none other than the Blood Skull pirates. At the same time, the Blood Skull pirates had set up a grand spell formation outside. The great formation shone, forming a barrier of light that surrounded them, using it to block the coldness outside. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, a pair of cold eyes fell on Lu Ming. "Little bastard, you've finally appeared. Let's see how long you can hide," said the bearded man, his eyes filled with killing intent. His eyes looked like two sharp swords as they moved towards Lu Ming. "I just came out to see you. You're still here. Wait for me. I'm very comfortable inside. You don't need to worry about me." Lu Ming grinned. With a flash of his figure, he continued to head toward the depths of the canyon, leaving behind the infuriated burly man and the others. Since the burly man with the curly beard was still here, Lu Ming definitely could not get out now. Even though he had broken through to the next godly emperor layer, the result would still be the same if he faced the bearded man and the others. He had been able to fight against cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer because of the Zephyr Pearl. Relying on his own strength, he couldn't fight against cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer, let alone against cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. Relying on his own strength, he couldn't fight against the bearded man and the others. Therefore, even though his cultivation had broken through to the next godly emperor layer, it didn't change the situation. He could only return to the canyon and continue cultivating. After returning to the canyon, I've broken through to the next godly emperor layer. My cells have been completely used up. I need to continue absorbing energy, thought Lu Ming. Then, he took out a bone pearl and started absorbing energy. With his current cultivation level, if he wanted to fill up all his cells, he would need to consume an incredible amount of energy. After absorbing 5 or 6 bone pearls, Lu Ming's body was finally filled up. Then, he continued cultivating. 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, 20 days, a month passed and Lu Ming still hadn't broken through to the next godly emperor layer. If he broke through to the godly emperor layer, he would become a quasi-emperor. To break through to the godly emperor layer from the godly emperor layer, his star nucleus had to turn into a star. Even when he broke through to the quasi-emperor layer, the 9 rings around his star nucleus had to fuse together. Of course, Lu Ming had a forbidden body. It was completely different from the traditional way of cultivation. He didn't have a star nucleus or a star ring. He judged his cultivation base based on the energy of the taboo energy. Even so, the quasi-emperor layer was still a hurdle that wasn't easy to break through. When the potential in his cells was completely exhausted, his cultivation level still hadn't broken through to the quasi-emperor layer. Lu Ming could only continue to take out bone pearls and absorb energy. When the potential in his cells was full again, the bone pearls in his body had been completely used up. It really consumes a lot of energy. When I break through to the godly emperor layer, the energy consumed will be even more terrifying. It seems that I still need to store more high-energy treasures. Lu Ming thought. There were many high-energy treasures, such as divine herbs, divine elixirs, and treasures that contained majestic life essence like bone pearls. During this period, Lu Ming had also obtained a lot of divine elixirs that contained majestic energy. They could still be used for a while. Of course, divine crystals also contained energy. It was just that they were too rare and time-consuming to absorb. Therefore, they weren't Lu Ming's first choice. After storing all the potential in his cells, Lu Ming continued cultivating. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. On this day, the aura on Lu Ming's body reached its peak. Then, there was a sudden loud explosion. Following which, his aura increased rapidly. It was like a volcano erupting. It kept rising as if there was no end to it. In the end, his aura increased by 10 times before it finally stopped. Quasi-Emperor. Lu Ming whispered. He couldn't hide the joy in his eyes. After a few months of bitter cultivation, with the help of the terrifying cold outside, Lu Ming finally broke through the shackles and rushed into the quasi-emperor layer. His combat strength skyrocketed. Lu Ming was confident that his current combat strength was definitely at the peak of the quasi-emperor layer in the entire primitive universe. He wasn't invincible under the godly emperor layer, but he was close. For example, he could defeat Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji in one move. However, his strength was still far from that of the bearded man and the others. Lu Ming returned to the periphery of the canyon and saw the bearded man and the others still waiting there. Lu Ming could only return to the canyon and continue cultivating. Of course, he had to let go of his cultivation. It was too difficult to break through to the godly emperor layer. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3867. It was difficult to break through to the Divine Emperor realm in a short period of time. Even with the terrifying chill, it would take a long time. In addition, he did not have many resources left. Breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm required a huge amount of resources. Although he still had some resources, they might not be enough for him to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Therefore, he could take his time to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Lu Ming planned to cultivate secret skills first. 2 of the 3,000 ancient secret skills and hundreds of ordinary secret skills. Back then, he had bought 150 ordinary secret arts from Xue Ming subordinates and obtained hundreds of secret arts from the Life Soul Heavenly Court. He had not had time to cultivate so many secret skills recently. Now that he was trapped here, it was a good time to cultivate. Lu Ming controlled the strong wind and shrouded himself in it. He sat cross-legged and was not affected by the chill outside. He focused on comprehending secret skills. Right now, Lu Ming was very familiar with all kinds of secret skills. Moreover, as his cultivation level deepened, the taboo power constantly improved his comprehension ability. The speed at which he comprehended these ordinary secret skills was astonishing. It only took him a few hours to comprehend a secret technique. He could comprehend several secret skills in a day and turn them into secret skill runes and integrate them into his cells. In the blink of an eye, more than 4 months had passed. He had completely mastered hundreds of secret skills. Right now, Lu Ming had mastered a total of 1,000 types of secret skills. Yes, exactly 1,000. These secret skills were all-encompassing and there were all kinds of secret skills. As long as he thought about it, they would burst out like a storm. After mastering these secret skills, Lu Ming began to focus on 2 ancient secret skills, the Great Shatter Art and the Great God Wind Art. The 3,000 ancient secret skills were not weaker than the origin secret skills. Especially for geniuses with high comprehension, they could improve rapidly. The power of the early stage was stronger than the origin secret skills. They were the most suitable secret skills for Lu Ming. Lu Ming naturally had to spend more effort on them. Lu Ming planned to cultivate the Great Shatter Art first. The Great Shatter Art was only 1 step away from mastering it. Once mastering it, its power would surge and be on par with the Great God Wind Art. Comprehending it alone is still too slow. Oh right, those apes. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up as he swept his gaze towards the apes. At first, those apes surrounded Lu Ming, but after a few months, they seemed to have lost their patience. Some had already left, and only 5 or 6 were still surrounding Lu Ming. Lu Ming planned to use these apes as opponents to cultivate the ancient secret technique. Whoosh! Lu Ming walked towards one of the apes. That ape immediately stared at Lu Ming cautiously, mainly because it was afraid of Lai Feng. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming directly opened up half of the area covered by the gale, allowing the ape to directly face Lu Ming. Come on! Lu Ming muttered. Seeing that Lai Feng had retreated half of the gale, the ape's eyes were filled with ferocious killing intent. It hesitated for a moment before roaring and taking a heavy step forward. Its huge body pounced towards Lu Ming, bringing with it a whistling cold wind. The ape held a snow-white popsicle in its hand and whipped it towards Lu Ming. The cold wind whistled and the popsicle exploded the space. The terrifying chill seemed to be about to freeze everything. 6 times combat strength, Great Shatter Art. Lu Ming growled and directly activated the battle symbol art to increase his combat strength by 6 times. Of course, he couldn't instantly activate the battle symbol art to increase his combat strength by 6 times. In fact, he had been trying to activate it for a long time before he succeeded. With the cultivation of a quasi-emperor, the battle symbol art could increase his combat strength by 6 times, filling his body with endless power. He activated the Great Shatter Art and struck out with his palm. Clang! Lu Ming's palm hit the popsicle. Immediately, he felt a terrifying chill and terrifying force rushing towards him, wanting to tear him apart and explode him. "Break for me!" shouted Lu Ming furiously. A terrifying strength burst out, the Great Shatter Art was unceasingly released, as if it wanted to destroy everything. Under the attack of the Great Shatter Art, the chill was unceasingly being torn apart. Even the terrifying force was being torn apart. Boom! Lu Ming's body retreated rapidly. He only stopped when he was hundreds of miles away. His body was already covered with a layer of ice. His hands were covered with cracks and blood was flowing out. The ape was also pushed back, but it wasn't as far as Lu Ming. Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage in this move. With his current strength, he could easily kill cultivators of the third godly emperor layer, but he still wasn't a match for the ape. Roar! The ape was even more furious after being pushed back. It roared furiously and continued attacking Lu Ming. The popsicle was like a mountain moving towards Lu Ming. Gravity pearls. Lu Ming's heart stirred and 3 gravity pearls flew out. The terrifying gravity shrouded the ape. Enveloped by the gravity, the ape's body trembled slightly. Clearly, it was greatly affected. After that, Lu Ming also rushed over and used the Great Shatter Art. He threw a punch at the ape. Boom! Another heaven-shocking explosion sounded. This time, the two sides were evenly matched, both retreating 100 li. It's working. Come again, Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. He looked excited. As expected, the best way to practice a secret skill was to fight. Lu Ming used his full strength to exchange a few blows with the ape. He had the feeling that he had a new understanding of the Great Shatter Art. The ape was even crazier. It roared and attacked Lu Ming. The two of them started fighting intensely. There were other apes on the side who also wanted to attack Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming controlled the gale and swept it towards the apes. They were scared and kept retreating. In this way, Lu Ming and the ape exchanged a few hundred blows. The ape was emitting white qi. It was exhausted and had to retreat. Lu Ming also took the opportunity to rest. After Lu Ming had a good rest, he removed Lai Feng and looked for other monkeys to fight. In this way, Lu Ming fought with the ape for 3 days. On the 4th day, bang! The void trembled violently as a snow-white ape retreated 200 miles away in a frenzy. Lu Ming only retreated a few dozen li. Lu Ming finally gained the upper hand. I finally learned the Great Shatter Art. Lu Ming was delighted. Originally, he had already practiced the Great Shatter Art to a certain extent and was not far from the beginner level. After 3 days of continuous fighting, he finally practiced the Great Shatter Art to the beginner level. He made the Great Shatter Art reach the same level as the Great Divine Wind Art. Its power soared. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and continued to attack the ape. He kept throwing out his palms. Each of his palms had the power of the Great Shatter Art. Every time he threw out a palm, the space shook violently and cracks like a spider web appeared. The ape tried its best to resist, but it could no longer hold on. It kept retreating, and cracks appeared on the popsicle in its hand. Chapter 3868. Lu Ming forced an ape to keep retreating. It only had the strength to resist and had no strength to fight back. Asterisk roar, asterisk on the side, several other apes kept roaring and jumping, trying to attack Lu Ming, but unfortunately, they were all blocked by the gale. Want to attack? Well, let 2 more come in. Lu Ming's heart moved and he retracted the range of the gale a little. Asterisk roar. Asterisk immediately, 2 apes roared and dashed toward Lu Ming. Together with the one in front, there were a total of 3 apes. The 3 snow-white apes attacked Lu Ming at the same time with different attacks. Come on, Great Divine Wind Technique, Great Shattering Technique, Lu Ming bellowed and used the 2 ancient mystic skills. His whole body was wrapped in a strange hurricane, and inside it, there was the shattering power of the Great Shattering Spell. Asterisk swish. Asterisk swish. Asterisk Lu Ming blasted out 3 palm prints in a row towards the 3 apes. There was a big explosion in this area and the void was constantly collapsing. 1 man and 3 apes engaged in a fierce confrontation. As soon as the confrontation began, Lu Ming fell into a disadvantage and was no match for the three apes. The main thing was that one of the apes was stronger and stronger, forcing Lu Ming to keep retreating. Good, this is interesting, this is stressful. Lu Ming was not surprised but happy. Instead, he was even more excited. Asterisk boom. Asterisk his body shook and all his cells trembled. There were hundreds of offensive secret techniques that all burst out. Lu Ming's body emitted a bright light, which had a variety of colors. There were hundreds of colors in total, which was caused by hundreds of secret techniques. There were no outsiders here. Lu Ming had no scruples and let these secret techniques manifest. There were roars of 9 dragons, bursts of sword chi, dancing saber light, roars of tigers, all kinds of secret techniques blasted towards the three apes. At the same time, Lu Ming launched the main attack with the Great Shattering Technique and Great Divine Wind Technique. Lu Ming could be said to have used all his means to block the attacks of the three apes, but he was still at a disadvantage. However, only pressure could stimulate one's potential. Lu Ming enjoyed this kind of battle very much. After hundreds of battles, the three apes were tired and retreated. Lu Ming also took the opportunity to rest. After a while, he continued to fight. In this fierce confrontation, not only were the two ancient secret techniques tempered, but even other ordinary secret techniques were also tempered and become stronger. For the rest of the time, Lu Ming cultivated with peace of mind. In the beginning, Lu Ming was no match for the three apes. However, as time passed, he was gradually able to block the attacks of the three apes. A month later, Lu Ming was already able to fight to a draw with the three apes. After that, Lu Ming continued to use the Great Divine Wind Technique to fight against the 5 apes. Time flew, half a year passed quickly. Lu Ming had been in the Glacial Valley for a year. After that period of cultivation, Lu Ming's mastery of the Great Divine Wind Technique and the Great Shattering Technique had increased by a lot. As his mastery increased, his strength also increased. Lu Ming's overall fighting strength had also increased. Now, Lu Ming didn't know how strong he could be if he used his full strength. He also didn't know what level of godly emperor he could defeat. But Lu Ming was sure that he could easily kill ordinary cultivators of the third godly emperor layer. It was worth mentioning that Qiu had evolved again. He had broken through to the third godly emperor layer and could kill cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer. That gave Lu Ming more confidence. I wonder if the Blood Skull Pirates are still here. With my current strength, I should be able to break through, thought Lu Ming. Of course, he couldn't defeat cultivators of the 6th or 7th godly emperor layer. But during this period of time, his Great Divine Wind Technique had improved. He could summon even stronger gales from the Great Divine Wind Pearl. He had a better chance of defeating the curly-bearded big man. Even if he couldn't kill the curly-bearded big man, he could seize the opportunity to escape. Now, they had been in Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace for a year. He had been trapped there for a long time. How was he doing? Lu Ming didn't want to stay there any longer. Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind Pearl to protect himself and returned to the periphery of the valley. Outside the valley, the Blood Skull Pirates were still in the Grand Spell Formation. Those people are really stubborn. Lu Ming was speechless. Little bastard, let's see how long you can stay here. I have plenty of time to waste with you. When the curly-bearded big man saw Lu Ming, he looked even more furious than before. Humph, I'm younger than you, so it's not certain who has more time. Let's just waste time then, said Lu Ming angrily. But this time, Lu Ming didn't retreat. He looked around, trying to find an opportunity to escape. Peng peng, suddenly, Lu Ming took a step forward and walked out of the glacier canyon. The curly-bearded big man and the others were excited. He can't stay here any longer. He wants to break through. Seal him, said the curly-bearded big man to the others telepathically. The members of the Blood Skull Pirates split into a few rows. Powerful auras spread out from them, interweaving with each other as they prepared to launch a thunderous attack. They didn't dare be careless because they knew how strong the Great Divine Wind Pearl was. Phew, Lu Ming held the Great Divine Wind Pearl in his hand and used the Great Divine Wind technique to summon the Great Divine Wind Pearl's strength. Immediately, a strong wind whistled and turned into a huge tornado. It swept in all directions towards the Blood Skull Pirates. "Break!" shouted the bearded man furiously. He released his chi of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. He raised his hands and a few pitch-black skeletal claws moved towards the tornado. Boom! The two attacks collided with each other, resulting in an earth-shattering explosion. The earth quaked and the sky began to crumble. In the next moment, the curly-bearded big man's expression changed drastically. Originally, he thought that this move would be enough to defeat Lu Ming's Great Divine Wind Pearl. A year ago, he had easily defeated Lu Ming's Great Divine Wind Pearl. But this time, he didn't manage to break it. It was blocked. "You blocked it. Good." Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He wasn't sure if the Great Divine Wind Pearl could block the curly-bearded big man's attack. But now, he was relieved. Then, his eyes were filled with killing intent. He just wanted to rush out and leave, but now, he changed his mind. If he didn't make the Blood Skull Pirates pay a painful price, how could he be willing to leave? With a thought, Xiao turned into an armor and covered Lu Ming's body. Afterward, Lu Ming activated the Great Divine Wind technique with all his might. Another gust of strong wind was drawn out from the Gale Pearl. Phew, a strong gale whizzed by, tearing space apart as if it were tofu. The violent gale swept towards the Blood Skull Pirates at an astonishing speed. Chapter 3869. Lai Feng's speed was too fast, like lightning. Unable to dodge in time, the Blood Skull Pirates were enveloped by the gale. Immediately, screams of agony could be heard. To be honest, given Lu Ming's current level of mastery of the Great Godly Wind skill, the gale drawn out from the Gale Pearl was too powerful. Those below the 6th level of the Divine Emperor realm could not resist it at all. Once they were enveloped by it, they would die. The pirates of the Blood Skull Pirates who had the strength of the 6th Godly Emperor layer were cut into pieces. Only 3 cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer didn't die, but they were severely injured. Their bodies were tattered and covered with wounds. They were bleeding and smelled like barbecued meat. All of a sudden, there were only 4 people left in the Blood Skull gang. Kill. Having gained the upper hand in one move, Lu Ming would not give his opponent a chance to catch his breath. Xiao condensed a silver spear. Lu Ming grabbed the silver spear and thrust it towards a cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer. The cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer had been severely injured by the Zephyr Gale. He had less than 10% of his strength left. He shouted furiously and released an explosive attack to block the Moonlight Spear. However, he didn't have much strength left. Although he was able to block a portion of the Moonlight Spear's power, he wasn't able to block all of it. Finally, a ray of Moonlight Spear light pierced through this person's body. Great Divine Wind Art, Great Shattering Art, Lu Ming's left hand blasted out continuously as he executed 2 ancient secret techniques. A wave of destructive energy rushed towards the other party. With injuries on top of injuries, the other party was already incomparably dispirited. How could he still block Lu Ming's attack? The destructive energy swept over, and that person let out an unwilling scream. His body was torn apart, and he died on the spot. A cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer had been killed. The other 2 cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer were terrified and retreated. "Damn it," the curly-bearded man roared. His murderous intent had reached its peak. The raging flames of anger seemed to want to burn his body. He attacked crazily and finally broke through the tornado formed by the strong wind. Then, he charged towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had been waiting for him. As soon as the curly-bearded man pounced over, Lu Ming immediately controlled the Great Divine Wind technique and drew out a powerful gale from the Gale Pearl, sweeping towards the curly-bearded man. The energy inside the Gale bead was practically limitless. The existence that had left behind the Gale Pearl was too terrifying. The gale that had been stirred up had destroyed an entire galaxy, turning it into a land of gale that would not dissipate even after countless years. Therefore, the energy inside the Gale bead was simply too abundant. What Lu Ming was drawing out was just a drop in the ocean. Lu Ming felt that if he could draw out the energy inside the Gale Pearl, he could probably destroy an entire galaxy in an instant. Therefore, there was no need to worry that there would not be enough gale in the Gale Pearl. A strong gale swept out and blocked the curly-bearded man. Lu Ming attacked the remaining 2 cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer. The 2 cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer were severely injured. In addition, the coldness here was extremely shocking. Although it wasn't as shocking as the glacial canyon, it still had a great impact on them. This greatly reduced their speed. Lu Ming wasn't affected by the cold, and with his great godly wind technique, he was extremely fast. He caught up with the 2 cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer and attacked them like a storm. The attack of the silver spear that Qiuqiu had transformed into, as well as Lu Ming's own attack, was fatal to the 2 severely injured members of the Blood Skull pirate team. Although the 2 of them tried their best to resist, the outcome was already determined. Another cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer was killed. "Ah, little bastard, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to grind your bones to dust." The curly-bearded man was incomparably furious. He kept on attacking, but unfortunately, when he broke through the gale, Lu Ming rewarded him with another gale, preventing him from charging over. Lu Ming continued attacking the last cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer. Very quickly, the last cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer followed in the footsteps of the others. He was killed by Lu Ming. That way, only the curly-bearded man was left of the Blood Skull pirate group. The curly-bearded man's eyes were wide open. His hair and beard stood on end. His hands had turned pitch black like ink, emitting a deep and serene aura. He continuously attacked with terrifying power. Every time it blasted out, a huge explosion would occur in the void. Even though Lu Ming's gale was extremely strong, the curly-bearded man could break it in a few attacks. "Die!" shouted the curly-bearded man furiously. He threw a punch at the gale, which shook and dispersed. Then, a gigantic hand moved towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming still drew out a wisp of energy from the Gale Pearl to block the pitch-black handprint. "You're the only one left," Lu Ming stared at the curly-bearded man. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He didn't want to leave like that. He wanted to see if he could kill the curly-bearded man as well. Whoosh whoosh, Lu Ming held the Gale Pearl in his hand, and a strong gale filled the air as he moved towards the curly-bearded man. "You want to kill me? You're overestimating yourself. Brutal hand!" shouted the curly-bearded man furiously. He stretched out his hand, and the space around him broke apart like tofu. Bang bang bang, the strong gale collided with the curly-bearded man's hand. In the blink of an eye, they had collided a few hundred times. Finally, the gale was broken. "Unfortunately, it's not strong enough. I can't injure him fatally," sighed Lu Ming. The gale he had released wasn't strong enough. Even though it could block the curly-bearded man's attack, it couldn't threaten his life. "Let's see how much strength you can release. When you run out of strength, you'll die," roared the curly-bearded man. He did not believe that the power of the Gale Pearl in Lu Ming's hands was limitless. Once the power of the Gale Pearl was depleted, he would crush Lu Ming into ashes to vent his anger. This time, he had suffered a great loss. In order to deal with Lu Ming, he had wasted so much time, and all of his men had been killed by Lu Ming. If the leader of the Blood Skull Pirates found out about this, he would definitely be punished. Only by killing Lu Ming could he make up for his mistakes. Therefore, he had never been more eager to kill Lu Ming. Kill! Kill! The curly-bearded man kept attacking, trying to deplete the energy of the Gale Pearl as soon as possible. However, the energy of the Gale Pearl was endless. Lu Ming kept releasing energy. Moreover, Lu Ming took the opportunity to launch his own attack. The moonlight spear light blasted towards the curly-bearded man, carrying the energy of the great god Wind Art and the great Shattering Art. Unfortunately, the curly-bearded man defeated Lu Ming's attack with a single palm. Chapter 3870. Lu Ming's own strength, even with Qiuqiu, was still a far cry from the curly-bearded man. Looks like I can't kill this guy. Lu Ming sighed in his heart and began to think about how to evacuate. Since he couldn't kill this fellow, there was no point in dragging it out. He had been in Bing Xian's Life Spirit Hall for a year and hadn't gotten anything. He couldn't let others get it. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. Whoosh! From outside the snowy mountain, an arrow flew rapidly towards the bearded man. Fast, terrifyingly fast. It was powerful, terrifyingly powerful. Almost instantly, he closed in on the curly-bearded man. The bearded man's expression changed drastically because he felt a fatal danger from that arrow. It was a danger that could threaten his life. At the critical moment, the bearded man let out a roar. His pitch-black palm suddenly slapped out at a strange angle towards the arrow. Clang! It was as if two pieces of metal had collided with each other, causing energy ripples to spread out in all directions. Lu Ming could clearly see that the arrow was constantly vibrating and emitting a terrifying penetrative power. Puff! In the end, the curly-bearded man let out a muffled groan and retreated rapidly. His pitch-black palm had actually been pierced through, and pitch-black blood flowed out. Furthermore, the arrows did not stop. They continued to land on his body, piercing through his body. Ah! The bearded man roared like a wounded lion, staring in the direction outside the snow mountain. In that direction, a figure was walking through the air. The person who came had a graceful figure and a peerless elegance. If it wasn't Ling Yue, who else could it be? Ling Yue's entire body was enveloped by a green divine light. Her powerful aura opened up a part of the world, making Lu Ming feel as if a star was hanging in the air. Divine Emperor. Lu Ming's pupils shrank as he muttered. That's right, Ling Yue's cultivation had already completely reached the Divine Emperor realm. Lu Ming definitely wouldn't sense it wrongly. Unexpectedly, after a year of not seeing each other, Ling Yue had already made a major breakthrough. It had to be known that it was extremely difficult for a quasi-emperor to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Many peerless geniuses were trapped at this step for an unknown period of time. As for Ling Yue, she had already broken through after disappearing for a year. It seemed that Ling Yue must have had a fortuitous encounter this year. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to do it so quickly. For a monstrous genius like Ling Yue, once she stepped into the Divine Emperor realm, her battle prowess would soar crazily. Perhaps her current combat strength was already above Lu Ming's. Although Lu Ming had gone from the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm to the Quasi-Emperor realm, which was an increase of 2 levels, these 2 levels were just small levels. But from the Quasi-Emperor realm to the Divine Emperor realm was an increase of a major realm. The advancement of a major realm was far from being comparable to the advancement of a minor realm. Ling Yue held a bloody battle bow in her hand. That arrow just now was shot by Ling Yue with the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood. Although Ling Yue had broken through to the Divine Emperor stage and her battle prowess had soared, it was still impossible for her to injure the bearded man. She needed to use the Elf King Bao. However, after breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm, it was much easier for her to control the Elven King Bao. Mu Yun, let's work together and kill this person. Ling Yue's voice sounded in Lu Ming's ears. Alright, Lu Ming replied without thinking. Then, it was a violent attack. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique with all his might. From the Gale Pearl, a powerful gale whistled out and swept towards the bearded man. Following that, the 3 gravity orbs also flew out, and the powerful gravity pressed down. Although with Lu Ming's current cultivation, controlling the 3 gravity orbs wouldn't have much of an effect on the bearded man, but it would still affect him a little, right? Sensing the killing intent of Lu Ming and Ling Yue, the bearded man became even more furious. You 2 little bastards want to kill me? Dream on. Tyrannical hand, shatter the world. The bearded man roared crazily. His body was enveloped by a layer of black light. His 2 claws became even darker as they continuously clawed out, creating a terrifying wave of strength chi that fought against the gale. Crackling sounds of explosions could be heard in the air. Elven King's arrow! Ling Yue shouted. The aura on her body was pushed to the limit, and a towering tree appeared. This towering tree contained an immeasurable amount of life essence, and all of it was injected into Ling Yue's body. In an instant, Ling Yue's aura reached its peak. She drew her bow and nocked an arrow. An emerald green arrow condensed and shattered the void as it shot towards the curly-bearded man's face. In the past, Ling Yue could only shoot 1 arrow with the Elven King's bow, and that was her limit. But now, Ling Yue could not only shoot 1 arrow, but it was even more powerful. The bearded man's expression was extremely solemn as he continuously struck out with his palms. However, he was unable to block it at all. His palms were violently trembling, and on his palms, there were at least dozens of layers of black light that were instantly pierced through by the arrow. Puff! This time, both of the bearded man's palms were pierced through. The arrow pierced through the space between his eyebrows. The bearded man's expression changed drastically. At the critical moment, he twisted his body slightly and avoided the fatal blow. The arrow pierced through his neck, leaving behind a bloody hole that penetrated from front to back. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely die after receiving such an attack. However, for a Divine Emperor realm expert, such an injury was nothing at all. With the circulation of his divine power, he would quickly recover. However, in that instant, he would still be greatly affected. Now is the time. How could Lu Ming miss such an opportunity? He activated the Zephyr Pearl with all his might. Whoosh! A scorching gale swept out, enveloping the bearded man within and crazily spinning and cutting him. Ah! The bearded man let out a heaven-shaking roar as he frantically resisted. However, he was enveloped by the gale and had already lost the initiative. One had to know that the gale inside the Zephyr Pearl was almost endless. Before the burly man with the curly beard dashed out, Lu Ming drew out another gust of strong wind, which swirled around the burly man with the curly beard. When the gale was slightly smaller, Lu Ming pulled out another gale. After continuously pulling out 7 or 8 gusts of wind, the bearded man finally couldn't hold on any longer. His body seemed to have been cut by countless blades, leaving behind countless wounds. Mu Yun, open a gap and let me end him completely. Ling Yue transmitted her voice. Lu Ming nodded, and in the direction of Ling Yue, he opened a small gap in the gale. The bearded man immediately rushed towards the gap, wanting to escape. However, what welcomed him was Ling Yue's arrow. Swoosh! The terrifying arrow pierced through the bearded man in an instant. A destructive power erupted and a huge explosion occurred on the bearded man's body. A huge bloody hole was blasted open and his aura was dispirited. The endless gale took the opportunity to cut towards the bearded man. No, no. The bearded man let out a desperate cry, but after a few breaths, there was no sound. Chapter 38-71. The bearded man let out a few screams of despair, and then he no longer made a sound. He was severely injured by Ling Yue's arrow, and then enveloped by the gale, he was completely obliterated. A great expert of the 7th level of the Divine Emperor realm was killed by 2 young juniors just like that. To be honest, the 7th level of the Divine Emperor realm was truly shockingly strong, and his battle prowess was extremely terrifying. The main reason was that he was unlucky enough to meet Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Not only were the 2 of them monstrous geniuses, they also had terrifying killing weapons in their hands. The bearded man had completely died at the hands of the 2's killing weapons. When the bearded man's aura completely disappeared, Lu Ming released the gale. With a grab of his hand, the bearded man's storage ring flew into Lu Ming's hand. "We'll split the treasures inside," Lu Ming said to Ling Yue. This time, it was all thanks to Ling Yue. Otherwise, Lu Ming wouldn't have been able to keep the bearded man. Moreover, the reason why Ling Yue had come here was most likely to help him. This warmed his heart slightly. Ling Yue's character was still not bad, causing Lu Ming to have more trust in her. "No need, this storage ring is yours. Just treat it as me thanking you for letting me escape." Ling Yue smiled, like 100 flowers blooming, incomparably beautiful. The pearl on the universe's pearl list lived up to his reputation. "Then I won't be polite." Lu Ming smiled, and no longer held back, he kept the bearded man's storage ring. "Oh right, I've been trapped here for a year. How's the Bing Xian Life Soul Palace? Has it all been plundered?" Lu Ming asked. "Actually, I'm not too sure either. A year ago, after I escaped, I accidentally came to a wonderful place. That place was very suitable for me to cultivate. I cultivated there for a year, broke through to the Divine Emperor realm, and left. After leaving, I followed the direction you escaped in and found this place. As for what happened in the Bing Xian Life Soul Palace, I'm not too sure either," Ling Yue said. Lu Ming nodded his head. It seemed that Ling Yue was similar to him, and did not know what had happened in the Bing Xian Life Soul Hall. Since the 2 of them had met again, they naturally planned to continue working together. After that, the 2 of them left the snowy mountain and headed towards the depths of Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace. Next, they found several cities and palace-like buildings in succession, but the things inside were all emptied. Obviously, others had beaten them to it. However, the 2 of them discovered a frightening scene. Those buildings were filled with dried corpses. Yes, it was exactly the same as what Lu Ming had seen before. Some of these mummified corpses were lying down, while others were sitting cross-legged. They seemed to be sleeping or cultivating. Suddenly, their essence, energy, and soul were sucked away, turning them into mummified corpses. It was definitely not left behind recently. It was left behind countless years ago. This made Lu Ming and Ling Yue puzzled. This was one of the 9 Life Spirit Halls of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, Bingxian Life Spirit Hall. The people who lived there were all from the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Why would the people of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court be sucked dry in an instant? Could it be the doing of the Heavenly Palace? The 2 of them were puzzled and could only continue forward. Boom! Suddenly, from an unknown distance away, there was a rumbling sound. Space rippled with visible ripples. Following that, in that direction, a blood-colored light pierced through the clouds. Even from a distance, one could see it. The blood-colored light pierced through the clouds. It was dazzling, and the light was millions of feet long. It looked incomparably shocking. More than half of the Bingxian Life Spirit Hall was shaken. What is that? What a resplendent radiance! Could it be that some treasure has been born? Legend has it that the Life Spirit Heavenly Court is a powerful force that can challenge the Heavenly Palace. They have countless treasures. This is one of the 9 Life Spirit Palaces of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. They must have countless treasures. Let's go and take a look. Anyone who saw this scene all flew towards the direction of the resplendent light. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei glanced at each other and nodded silently. Then, they also flew towards the direction of the light. The two of them were very fast. Soon, they arrived at the place where the light was coming from. It was a swamp. At first glance, it was boundless. There was no water in the swamp, but a blood-red liquid that looked like blood. The blood-colored light was coming from the depths of the swamp. When they arrived, the number of people increased dramatically. Many big shots of the chaotic Devil Star area appeared one by one. For example, the patriarch of the Demon Alligator clan was a big shot of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. The patriarch of the Demon Punishment sect was also a big shot of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Apart from them, there were also some strong cultivators of the 6th and 5th Godly Emperor layer. There were as many strong cultivators as there were clouds. Even if there are treasures, they are mine. Those who block me will die, shouted the patriarch of the Demon Alligator clan coldly. His eyes were as cold as lightning. Hee, how arrogant. Do you really think you are the strongest in the chaotic Devil Star area? Ridiculous. The patriarch of the Demon Punishment sect was not afraid of the patriarch of the Demon Alligator clan. I will kill you sooner or later. The patriarch of the Demon Alligator clan grinned ferociously. Then, he led the members of the Demon Alligator clan and flew towards the depths of the swamp. The other forces also flew into the swamp. The swamp was very vast. So many people flew in, but it was not crowded at all. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei also fell behind and flew into the swamp. In the swamp, the wind was calm and there was no wind at all. Below, the blood-red liquid was constantly emitting the smell of blood. It was very unpleasant. But in the next moment, a burst of fragrance floated into the noses of Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. It's the 10,000 blood fruit. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. Lu Ming also saw a fruit tree growing in the middle of the swamp. The fruit tree was not tall, only as tall as an ordinary person. On the fruit tree, there were 7 blood-red fruits hanging. The intoxicating fragrance was emitted by these fruits. It's actually the 10,000 blood fruit. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened. The 10,000 blood fruit was a very precious divine medicine. Legend had it that it was condensed from the blood of thousands of creatures. It contained a majestic life essence. If a cultivator swallowed it, they could quickly refine their divine power and increase their cultivation. The 7 fruits were priceless. Many people's eyes flashed with a fiery light. It's mine. Immediately, someone moved and pounced at the 10,000 blood fruit at an astonishing speed. Get lost. Kill. The others reacted and pounced on the 10,000 blood fruit one after another, launching an intense battle. In the next moment, there were screams. Someone was killed, and blood flowed into the swamp. Dozens of experts surrounded the 10,000 blood fruit and launched an intense battle. Not long after, 7 or 8 people fell here. Their bodies fell into the swamp and were swallowed by the swamp. Boom! Suddenly, an aura as thick as the starry sky came crushing down. A giant palm covered in scales appeared and pressed down. Several experts did not even have time to scream before their bodies exploded. Book Guest House Reading Website. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.